Hey guys, we are back on Twitch now. For those of you that maybe missed the first episode we just did, we were only took a few minute break, then we ended up taking like talking for like 15 minutes about coffee, and then here we are. This is our Game and Generation podcast. We're starting this now. This is all gonna be live for you guys tonight, and then for audio listeners, this will be broken up over the course of the month for them. So thank you guys for joining us here on the lovely Twitch stream, and then also if maybe you're watching us later on our YouTube channel, I really appreciate you guys checking us out. Hope you guys enjoy the show. All right, we have a little gap in here, and we will start the official show with the policies. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome up to another episode of the DrunkNerds podcast. I don't know if there's going to be numbered or not, but I am joined by, as always, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Sir Colonel Gables. What's up, buddy?
Yo, I am doing freaking good. I am ready for this
Mm.
gauntlet.
Yes. So, for people that maybe don't remember, if you're the audio listener or you're watching us later on or whatever, we just did episode 412. We are back for you guys. It might be weeks, days, years, months, whatever later. For us, it was just moments ago. We are doing our Game of the Generation podcast now, where we're going to rank our. We have ranked our top 25 games for last generation. We don't no one we I know my list obviously. Gables knows his list, but we don't
Yep.
know each other's list. So this is how we always do it. We never tell each other what it is. It's always a fun little surprise for us. Um, so we have rules in place for these Game of Generation. So last generation in 2013 we did our list Thanksgiving weekend, and
Oh,
we did the Paul. I don't know why I remember that. I just remember us doing during that was the whole point of like let's just do it during Thanksgiving, so we have the break during Thanksgiving. I just popped my head, but anyways, so when we did that one, we only did PS3, 360, DS, and Wii games. Wii U games that Wii U was out at that point, but we did not allow Wii games. And we're kind of doing the same thing this time around, where 3DS games are allowed this time, Switch games are not, and the cutoff is basically from the Switch launch. So Breath of the Wild not allowed on this current list, essentially. So it's basically just Wii U titles. Even though Breath of the Wild was on Wii U, it's really a Switch game. Come on, let's face it. So we're only counting. That's Breath of the Wild is a Switch game to us in this sense. So it's Wii U, PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo 3DS games and Vita too, if you have Vita games there, I
yes.
guess. But I don't know how, I don't know really, we didn't really make a list, a basic principle for Vita, I guess last time, so it doesn't really matter. Um, that's kind of how it's working out. We're gonna do, we did a top 25 list, and then we also have 5 honorable mentions, so really a top 30 list. I don't know when we'll get to our honorable mentions, but we'll get to it here eventually. If I I want to probably do it by the time we get to the top 10. So at that point, Gables, if I don't remember to have done it, remind me.
All
Um,
right.
but we're gonna go back and forth. We're gonna start from 25 and work our way down. If you guys are listening to the audio version of this, we did this all in one shot. You can watch it all on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/drunknerds. Like, follow, subscribe on there. Same thing with our Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Do all those things. Or you can, if maybe you're watching this live right now on twitch.tv/drunknerds podcast. I really appreciate all you guys out there doing that with us right now. Do that. Click the big follow button for us. We're there's like 4 categories you got to hit to be a was that we you can like basically be a Twitch member kind of thing where you can like people can subscribe to you. Uh, we're hitting 2 of them for sure. The third one we're very close to, and like the third one is you got to average like so many viewers per stream. We're very close
Yeah.
to the average, and then you got to have like 50 followers. So that's the big thing we need help with is the 50 followers. The more followers, obviously, the more viewers we'll have live. So if you guys can help us with that, we really would appreciate it. So maybe one day, not that we care, but it'd be nice. Maybe get a couple bucks out of this. So anyways, here we are. We're gonna start the show. Start off with our top 20 with our number 25 here. Gables, do you want to start or shall I start?
Honestly, why don't we have you start, Tyler?
Okay. So my number 25 is a game called it was a PC game initially, but it was a PS Plus game, and it was actually my number like 3 or 4 that year for 2014, the year it came out. It is a game called Outlast. This is a for me. Gables looks shocked by that. This is a game for me that like when it came out, like this was the first game like this I've ever played before. Um,
Yeah.
and it's funny like where like it definitely set that standard for me. Where I was like, oh man, I love this style. Like you're just walking around with the camera. You can't. It's very dark. You can't. You can only basically run. You gotta hide. It's a very creepy ass game. I remember like playing this with like a bunch of people in a PlayStation party chat, and we're all playing through it. Started at the same time, and we're all playing it. And a few like I'm screaming, I'm scared. Gables is laughing at us. Um, so but it's very fun because like I really really like this game. It's like even like Outlast 2, all those like I've tried to play. It's like one of those things where you try to recreate that moment for yourself again, like what you have with this. And it's like I don't know if it's just like I didn't love this genre as much as I thought I would, or like Outlast set that bar so high. Whereas this is a game that came, I don't know. I mean, if it wasn't free, I probably wouldn't have played it. Um, Coming out and just blew me away. I really really like this game quite a bit. It just sucks like this genre for me has kind of come and go where it's like part of it also is there's a million of these that come out every fucking year of
Yeah.
these Outlasts. I know Outlast was the first to do it. It's definitely nowhere near the last of doing it. I mean, we like I said, we get a million of them a year, and they all just kind of come and go, and no one gives a shit. It's a very crowded genre. Um, yeah, number 25 for me, Outlast. It was so fucking good. And then Gale's running around wearing my waffles and all that fun jazz. So it's a yeah, it's a really really good game. I love it very very much. Outlast number 25. Gables, what's your number 25?
Outlast. And you wonder why I had a thing of surprising, like like freaking surprise when you said like wait what?
This will
What are
never
the
happen
odds of
again.
that shit?
We this happened at 25. It will never happen again for us. Where we have with this, we're gonna have the same game on our list, but nowhere, never again, probably the same number. Gable,
No, probably not.
I hope I didn't steal your thunder with the waffles thing, but go on.
Oh no, man. It's like to piggyback off of your conversation about Outlast and stuff. Yeah, this is definitely one of the first that I've experienced of this type of genre and stuff, where the main thing of this thing is survival, and the whole aspect of it is you are going to investigate like this asylum and stuff, and quintessentially you get like a lot of footage and stuff for those like newcasting things. It's like you have to go through the camera, you got to collect batteries, you got to do this all other shit, but you got to dodge all of these inmates that are just freaking crazy and basically a part of this some big old cult and all this other crap. And so you have to go through and you have to escape and do all this other crap, and you got to go through so much stuff in order to try to survive and this and that. And man, the reason why it's on my top 25 list of the games of the generation is because of the experiences I had, not only with friends, but just from my own personal standings. It's like during the time I experienced this game, it wasn't through a project of my own. I mean, I didn't really buy it initially. It was because I was on a hotel trip with a bunch of friends. My friend brought his PC along. He started playing this game and stuff, and like him, myself, and another one of his buddies and stuff like that. We were just watching this stuff, and all of a sudden, it's like I'm just watching them play, just getting a little scared by it. I see one of the dudes, the big old freaking like, oh god, the inmate just busts in while they're
With
hiding
the
underneath this
penis.
like this no.
Oh,
Basically, I had this big old guy just burst into the door, but this guy is like he's hiding underneath the mattress, and all of a sudden it's like out of nowhere, and these guys are like just dead scared, just focus on the screen. It's like, "Where's my Huevos?" I did it exactly like that, and as soon as I did that, both of them looked at him. It's like they just started laughing their asses off because it's like it fucking fit, and because I usually don't speak too much whenever I'm like on a lot of like these outward trips and stuff, but I just couldn't help but laugh, man, because it's like whenever I have people that are going through their watching something scary and this and none of that, because I understand that you're supposed to be scared and stuff, but there are like specific things that I personally would be scared of in a horror film, but not in case of like a gaming situation, because it's like I've pretty much played plenty of games with that have like a horror like theme or element or this or that, but yeah, the experience with my friends, the also experience with you, Tyler, and Jake, and the guys over the party chat, the talking ship, that was hilarious. Especially every few minutes while I'm going through and exploring, trying to find my way around, I just hear Tyler just randomly screaming. All of a sudden, his sister's like, "Tyler, what the
yeah.
fuck?" That was some fun shit. But I was very impressed once I did go through and initially got a chance to play the game on because of PlayStation Plus. How much fun I was actually having in terms of dodging all of these like inmates, going through finding like latches or finding these like type of valves and stuff to turn and stuff. It's a game that I've actually played through once and actually have tried playing through multiple times with that regards because of how engaging the game is, how fun it can be in regards to reliving certain like story element experiences. And fun fact, I never played the Whistleblower DLC. That's something that I really want to do
It was okay.
one of these days.
It was okay.
But yeah, that's my number 25.
Nice. Very cool. I mean, I'll laugh if that happens again, to where we both have the same game with the same number. My number 24 is one of the. I'm gonna admit, look at this list. You're gonna see a lot of first party games, and you're not gonna see a lot of first party Xbox games on this list. And this is gonna be one of them. Game called Gears 4. Um,
Ah,
I love this game. I think it was 2016 this game came out. Uh, it's like I've talked about like I really enjoyed Gears 1 and 2 back in the day, but it was more of just a fun action romp thing. And it's like, and then Gears 3 came out and tell you like I'm actually like kind of really made me invest in these characters a little bit more. Like I actually give a shit about these characters. And it's like I talked about like I think this came out the same time frame as Force Awakens. Maybe it was a year before, maybe a year after Force Awakens. But it gave me that Force Awakens Star Wars game where it's like this like weird like where like there's here this new cast of characters, but we're gonna bring in the old to kind of like move you along with these new guys. It's gonna kind of help fill in, like here's these guys you love, but here's some new characters kind of help you like so you it helps makes it easier to enjoy these new characters. Same thing with this where you have like uh oh fuck I just forgot his name, the goddamn main character of the goddamn Gears games.
Marcus Phoenix.
Marcus Phoenix, thank you. His son JD, jumping in with him, and then Kate. And it's just same thing. You have Marcus Phoenix in this group with you, and he's like, it's been years since the end of Gears 3, and like what the hell's going on with him? What's going on with his wife that died, and him like living in his fucking goddamn tomatoes. Um, it's just like it's a cool. I mean, it's more Gears, which I love Gears, and that's awesome. Like a few weeks ago I played or a couple weeks ago I played High Buster. It's like I just love Gears in general, but then it's like you add these characters that I give a shit about, and actually a pretty good story in a Gears game, and like introduce these new characters that I actually give a shit about, like a kind of a cool story with a kind of building to a cool new bad guy, which is really great, and I just blew me away from like I know I was gonna have fun playing this game. I didn't think I'd give a shit about like as much as I did. I thought Gears 3 was as much as I've ever been invested. It's not like it's a fucking greatest story of all time kind of game, but it's just like, oh man, like I went from like I'm just playing this game with these characters, they're like hoorah kind of guys I don't fuck about, to like, oh, these characters kind of cool, to like Gears 4 is like, and like going into Gears 5 where I'm like I'm actually invested to like what happens to these. I don't want bad things to happen to these people. Like they've actually like given them personalities and like make you like give a fuck about them. So yeah, number 24 is Gears 4. Gables, what's your number 24? Is it Gears 4?
All right. No.
Okay.
That's in the pipeline one of these days for
Oh.
me to play. However, number 24 is a game that I had played generations ago. However, last year was definitely a revitalized resurgence of it. And I'm talking about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 plus 2
Oh.
remake.
Okay.
This basically gave me more of what I've been wanting for years, and that is more quality Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. None of that 5 shit where they messed everything up. None of the whole like Tony Hawk's ride, nothing of the
No
sort,
Little
those
Wayne.
stupid gimmicks and a fucking yeah, just the unnecessary fluff. Just pure arcade like fun with different skaters of what I remember, doing different combos, chaining together different types of combo things in order to collect letters, this and that. Vicarious Visions did an excellent job of remastering 2 classic games inside of one big package. So, with this in regards, this is the game that this is the remake, like the remake of a game that I really enjoyed because not only did I get the element of the nostalgia from the games back then, I felt like they were natural progressive evolutions to what they could be in like the future. So it's like I enjoyed a lot of the content from the first and the second. They're pretty much the same, give or take, like different tracks, some of which could not return because of licensing issues. Some new musicians and this and that. Some new skaters were added in the mix, but I really did like the aspect that the game in and of itself added back the old skaters from back in the 90s when those skaters were still relevant and they're still going strong, like Bob Burnquist, Bucky Lasek, like Ellis Steamer, Kareem Campbell, like Jeff Raleigh, and like Andrew Reynolds and stuff. And then you have like some new skaters and stuff. There are plenty of female skaters inside there too, which was fairly surprising to me because I really haven't been in that whole bubble in regards to the whole skaters sort of mindset of that sport, in terms since like basically the early 2000s.
Yeah,
But learning a bit
Jackass
more
days.
about these skaters and then going through a lot of the stuff, it was basically more of what I wanted, and it reason why it's so high on my list is because it was something that I had thought that I probably would not ever get again on a modern system. But for the PS4 and Xbox One generation and stuff, here it is. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 plus 2, excellent game, great remake, and quite honestly, one of the best games on that you could play on that system. So that's my number 24.
Nice. Very cool, Gables. My number 23 is a game that came out in 2017. Very stacked year for games. Um, Game called Evil Within 2. Uh, I am it's funny. I had like like I talked about with like remember playing through Evil Within the first one. Is like at first I didn't
Yes.
like it. It's maybe the guy that made Resident Evil 4. Tequila Games is making it. The other guys that are making the Ghostwire Tokyo that's coming out later this year. Um, it's like I liked Evil Within 1 a lot. Really really enjoyed it. Remember playing through pretty much most of that during an Extra Life 1 year and coming back into this one. Uh, and just kind of building upon that where it's like it's like they make some changes to it where like in the first half of the game is like it's not open world but it's more of it's an open area where like there's like actually like you're in this town and there's actually like a few blocks of like area you can roam around in and there's like
Right.
extra like there's whole like actually really cool like um like not really boss fights but there's like some like these characters like these like there's like a whole like house you gotta sneak through and not get caught by this fucking thing that'll kill you. um and just like get like upgrades for your weapon or get a new weapon or whatever, and um, just so much cool stuff like you can learn through like you learn backstories to like what's going on with these characters or like I said upgrades for what you have, and just I think it's Sebastian is the main character's name, and I just really like the changes they made to it. It's like the story isn't like it's doesn't make any goddamn sense. Don't ask like even like at the time like this is 4 years later now I'm talking about this, but it's like at the time I beat that game, I'm like I don't understand what the fuck's happening really. I know there's a daughter and there's a wife and blah blah blah. And that's all I get. But I mean like I'm just there's really cool. It feels like like they brought like that Resident Evil. This is before like Resident Evil 2 remake and Resident Evil even 7 was coming out. And or yes, before all those. But it's like before like Resident Evil kind of revived itself, where it's like you're, it just you're just you want that. There's that genre that's just empty. Like Dead Space kind of filled that gap for a little while in the
Yeah.
previous generation, and it's like here we are in this generation where like that gap, like that horror third person horror genre has not been filled by anybody. It's like here this game comes in and fills that gap for you, and then like the second half comes in they just build up these really cool like boss encounters that like very reminiscent of like the old school like Resident Evil games, and like especially like Resident Evil 4 where it's just like they're building up to all this cool and it's like you're just you never have a obscene amount of ammo but you always have just enough to get you through a fight. um yeah, and like the second half like it turns more into like kind of what Evil Within 1 was where it's more like a linear path. There's some side stuff you can do, but it's like it's not an open area. It's just like you can go through this door and do a couple things over here, or you can just keep going straight down this hallway, I think. But it's like I thought it really did a really good job of building upon itself from Evil Within 1 Definitely had a better budget. Definitely looked better. Like where Evil Within 1 when that game came out, it was definitely like it came out on 360 and PS4 and all that, both generations, but it was it still looked like it didn't look like a really well done 360 game at that point, and it's like it looked like a mid generation 360 PS3 genre
Right.
title, and like this one's like this looks like next gen. This looks really good. There's definitely a bigger budget involved in this, and I'm kind of bummed that we're not getting Evil Within 3. I'd love to have Evil Within 3. Maybe I hope to God we go back to that franchise. I know it didn't sell probably super duper well, but that is my number 23. Gables, Evil Within 2, or yeah, Evil Within 2. What's your number 23?
All right. So my number 23 is A Way Out.
Oh, okay.
All right. So basically, why it's so high on my list is because of the quality of the co op experience. Obviously, when you and I were both playing this game, we were just going in blind, essentially, because we don't know what to expect in this game. There was a lot of good promise from when it was revealed. There's a lot of cool elements in and of itself. And honestly, it's one of the few quality EA games inside of the PS4, Xbox One, and like Wii U slash PC generation, where it's like it's a good experience playing through all the way through, maybe like once or something like that with a friend or a family member or whatsoever. Because there's a lot of good co-op elements of it where you're helping each other along and stuff, like the whole sequence where you're both back to back and you have to go through up like this
Yeah, that
while
was
they're trying to
awesome.
escape.
Yeah.
And of course, the little like subsidiary like mini games that are hidden throughout this game that you would not even suspect is in
Yeah,
there.
Gables is really good at connect between 3 and 5.
I was literally trolling Tyler when it comes to the whole freaking Connect Four stuff. That was really funny,
You're such a dick.
honestly.
You're such a dick about it. It's like like I know you're winning and you're just fucking with me, but it's like, but I was like, oh, maybe he doesn't know he's winning. I don't know. Ah, like I
uh,
got you in arm wrestling though. Fun fact: I actually went back like because I have them on my personal YouTube channel. I put all
yeah,
those fun clips and I put them on my a while back. Put them on my YouTube channel, and I was watching. I have like the checkers. I have that cool escape the hospital scene,
yeah.
which was like really, I think the highlight of that game was like us jumping back and forth between us trying to escape the hospital. And then
Jesus
there's like
Christ.
the epic 4 fucking minute long arm wrestling competition. Where that was the one thing I beat you in, and then like
It was the one thing you and I spent like 4 minutes on this mundane
we
thing
just
where it's like 4 minutes like, I'm gonna fucking beat. No, I don't think this.
yeah,
We're just
it was
both
like
mashing the
4 minutes
buttons
of
with the
us like
controller.
smashing the square button, and it was I thought I was gonna have an aneurysm during this. Like Gables is like laughing hysterically, and I'm like I don't think I took a breath during that. I'm sure there was like veins that I didn't know I had in my forehead, fucking like popping out of my skull. It was yeah, it was something else.
But yeah, that was my number 23 on my list.
Yeah, that's awesome. Uh, Minor spoilers. That's gonna be on my list here eventually, as well. Um, Mine. Well, is that? I'm sorry. Was that it for you? That one?
Yes.
Okay. My number 22 is another Bethesda game. After Evil Within 2, it's a game called Wolfenstein 2.
Hey.
Um, I really really like this game. It's stuff I really remember playing New Order um, in 2014 as well. 2014 was a good year. So it was 2017 for Bethesda games apparently. Uh, where I just not really caring ever about Wolfenstein. I was always a Doom guy when it comes to like those that like there's always that Wolfenstein Doom era. I never really. I mean, I remember like playing old school Wolfenstein on 360 when they put it on the arcade, and I was like, yeah, it's fine, but it's not Doom. And I remember like liking New Order a lot with Belinsky. I'm like, oh, okay, like I actually like these are like they're doing a really cool job with these characters and building this world, and it's like I was fascinated by everything, like all the newspaper clippings and all these games, and like going in, like just the whole idea of like this alternate reality of like if the Nazis won, kind of thing. It's like it's very fascinating to me, especially like the science side. And this is obviously like a crazy part where there's this giant fucking robot dogs, going around like it's a fantastical version of that, or like
Right.
the Nazis built a nuke first and they nuked New York and all that, and it's just like it's so cool, like jumping in and seeing like the things that happen, and it's like just going on with these characters, like they're adding new characters, and like why these characters are like like pissed off, and it's like your girlfriend's pregnant, and it's like it's. I thought the ending was definitely like it drops a little bit on my list because that ending was like very like disappointing. Where it's like I'm having this like epic boss fight, but then I realized I can just after like 45 minutes of like not being able to beat like you just fighting like these enemies. It's just like it's very challenging, but it was just like it's not like a new boss fight. It's just like you're just fighting a wave of these enemies you've seen 1,000 times before already. Kind of thing is like I can just after like 45 minutes not being able to kill them, I realized I can just walk past them and go up a ladder and move on and beat that. That's the end of the game. Like okay. It's like I don't know what's more disappointing, like that's the final boss fight or the fact that I can just skip the final boss fight. But I love the where it went where it's like it turned more into like they basically just took like kind of what Doom did before in 2016 did where it's just like it's fast paced like where the first one was really it was like it was a good first person shooter but it was like um more just a basic first person shooter but what made it more interesting was the Wolfenstein world of like and these characters they built and the story but it was like in the fact you go to the moon at one point and all that it's just like it was batshit crazy but it wasn't the gameplay that made the game so good and this one it's like it's like it's just it's fucking Doom gameplay in Wolfenstein and like that's awesome. And I hope to God we get um, a Wolfenstein 3 news here soon because we are due. It's been 4 fucking years where the fuck it's at. But yeah, I really, 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 really like this game. If as far as like sequels go, there's not many games I put ahead of it that I'm anticipating more. For games that we know are getting sequels, it's definitely it'd probably be in my top five for sure. Of like, I want a sequel more than anything of, and this is one of them. So yeah, but number 22, Gables is Wolfenstein 2. What's your number 22, buddy?
All right, number 22 is Gravity Rush.
Oh, okay.
Gravity
Rest in
Rush
peace,
is,
Japan Studios. Sorry.
yes, rest in peace, Japan Studios, indeed, because that company was involved in creating some fantastic games over the years, and one of which is my number 22, Gravity Rush. This is an underrated classic on the PlayStation Vita as well as the PS4 because you can download that thing digitally or get the physical thing on PS4. But the way I experienced it firsthand was through the initial summer. I had a craving to play through PlayStation Vita games, and that was one of the ones that I wanted to play through and experience. Very glad I did so because the game is more or less like a action centric type of game where you get to explore this sort of post dystopian sort of like world, right? But you have this odd mechanic to where you could actually control gravity based upon the powers that you go through. So you can actually manipulate like which place you wanted to go. You can actually explore things like right side up, upside down. The story elements and stuff were all right in that regards. It was a mission structure sort of game as well. So what you had a couple different missions to try to get a grasp on powers and upgrade into different powers and stuff. Of course, you play as a character cat and stuff that sort of has amnesia and stuff, and try to remember different portions of what she was doing initially, and then you have like this whole epic battle between her and like the main antagonist and stuff like that, who basically has like the same powers as what she has. But I really like the concept of this game in itself because a lot of the premise of this game I don't hardly ever see, or I before then hadn't really experienced, to where you have a mechanic and you base this entire game around this one mechanic. In this regards was the whole gravity stuff. So you could actually either go through the button aspect or do the touchscreen stuff to where you can go through and you can touch where you want to go. Cat would zoom automatically to that place. But yeah, it was just going through the motions of not only completing each mission, but also when experiencing what would happen next inside of the story. I really did enjoy what I did play. I actually did beat this game. I didn't go for the platinum or anything, only because I really didn't feel like going on a lot of the rest of the missions for like the side missions in order to accomplish a lot of the times. But it's definitely a underrated game that I wish more people would experience, especially its sequel. Which even though the online's gone from that sequel, it's still worth going through and investing some time into. But even if you have a subtle curiousness, if say you're bored of playing something on the PS4, track down Gravity Rush. I believe it's for sale on PSN for about $20. If you want to go through and pick it up on PlayStation Vita, I mean that's definitely a game that's going up in price in terms
Yeah.
of the resale market for the original Vita game. But yes, number 22, what was it, 22?
Yes, 22.
Yes, number 22, Gravity Rush.
Very cool, Gables. Um, moving on to my number 21 here is the first, I will tell you right now, several PlayStation games, exclusive
Ah,
games. Number one, number one, number 21, Until Dawn. Um,
hmm,
it's kind of, I it's the same thing, almost like with Outlast, where it's not like Outlast was the first and only time I really liked like this kind of genre of games. But like Until Dawn is not the first of these type of games that I enjoyed, but it's definitely I feel like that kind of genre has peaked at, where it's like we've this whole idea of like uh, QTE quick time events kind of stuff, where like kind of like we've seen before with like Heavy Rain, and like what's the Quantum, uh, not Quantum, what the fuck's the one that came out in 2018, the Heavy Rain guys made.
oh,
Um,
Detroit, Become Human.
yeah, Detroit Communion. I was thinking Quantum Dreams, which they make. Uh, Never mind. I'm mixing up. I'm mixing up studios and games here at this point. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, but like we've seen this kind of genre before, and like I remember like loving Heavy Rain because I was the first ever experienced that, and we've seen like game like since then like Telltale games kind of do the same idea where it's like it's more story based, but it's like you make decisions, but also you get the QTE stuff to like kind of like the things you do and things you don't do, like really progress the way you do. And it's like moving to this one, like Until Dawn was a game like I remember like that was supposed to be a move game that came like for a
Yeah, that
PS3.
was.
It's supposed to be a PS3 move game, and it's like I remember seeing that like at like an E3, I think like 2013 or 2014. I'm like, I remember like I was just like incredibly like, why are they still showing this game? Why is it still coming out? Like, Move is dead. We're on a new console. It's like like they're like, oh, we're reworking it so it works on controller, and it's like, wow, okay, this is gonna be terrible. And it's like I remember just renting it from I think it was like GameFly or something like that. And just like I in like a 3 day 4 day stretch where I was like I fucking adore this game. Where it's like it's definitely like it is 80s 90s horror movie personified. Where it's like it's every stereotype. It's everything you expect from like playing through or watching Nightmare on Elm Street or a Friday the 13th or like a fucking Scream or whatever. It's like Nightmare or I know what you did. I know what you did last summer. Kind of. It's like it's all the stereotypes, all the things you expect from it, but it's just like they perfected it with these characters. Like it's like you know what these characters are. There's the rich girl. There's the kind of there's the slutty girl. There's the jock guy. There's the black guy. There's everything you expect from like there's the nerdy guy. There's the nerdy girl. It's all like there's it's like whatever. Um, it's like all the things you expect from like a horror genre movie from like that era to like put into a game, and it's like and it works, and it's like so cool. It's like everybody can die, nobody can die, whatever. And it's just like they fucking nailed it, and it's just I think it's Supermassive Games, the ones that is named the studio, and it's just like I so wish it's not. This isn't even like a Sony pony PlayStation fanboy thing. It's talking. This is just like I so wish Sony or PlayStation would just fucking bought this studio after Until Dawn, because it's just like it's so disappointing to see what they done since with like uh uh was it Last Hope, I think was the game that came out last year, and there was that one that came out the year prior with where like you're on a ship. I can't remember what it's called. And it's just like those games like it's the same style. It's like the same. They have like the same style, same whatever, but it's just like they don't have the budget, they don't have the time because they're trying to make these games. They're trying to churn these out fast. They're only a few hours long, and it's just like you see. And I don't know. I feel like it's kind of hurt. It's kind of killed this genre for me. Where it's like, even since then, like I play the next Telltale game that comes out after this, or Life is Strange, or um, like the next Detroit Become Human, whatever. It's like, oh no, we've done this better. And it's like, yeah, maybe it's goofy and it's silly and it's cheesy, but it's like, it's so much more. Like we've actually played like a fun version, like fun version of these style of games. Like these games can be fun and be interesting at the same time. Where it's like it doesn't have to just be these like overly serious style games. Where it's like you can make these games more than like you can make these games very fun to play. And Until Dawn, I feel like did that, and it's a shame. Where it's like they made the best game in the genre, and everybody suffers since. That's my number 21 though. Until Dawn. Gables, what's yours?
Yeah, just give me one moment.
Gables needs a moment. For you people watching this live on Twitch or YouTube later, he is busy. Oh, is he coming back? I was gonna go to him. Oh, he's back.
Oh yeah, I'm back.
Gables back. What's up, buddy?
All right. So to continue things on, at number 21, the game that I have is a 3DS game by the name of Theatrhythm Final Fantasy Curtain Call. So with that long title, it's a music game by Square Enix. And not just any music game, but a collaboration of Final Fantasy tracks, as well as other classic Square Enix games, like from Final Fantasy Legends to Chrono Trigger and stuff that you could additionally buy through DLC stuff. But the reason why it's on my list to begin with is because of how addicting it was to play this music-based game. Now, a bunch of the listeners know, in terms of music games, I do love my fair share of music games, especially if it becomes rudimentary to the D-pad and the face buttons and whatsoever. I mean, hell, I've played plenty of it on the Vita, on the PS4, on my 3DS as well, and this is the game I feel like kick-started a lot of my interest inside of those type of music games. Because it's very simple. You use the D-pad in order to do specific actions that are on the screen in regards to matching certain notes, certain pitches, and stuff like that. Same thing applies with the face buttons and whatsoever. But I remember just taking out my 3DS on my lunch break at my old workplace, playing a bit of that game, or just basically before bed, playing through and trying to beat my best scores upon that. From some of my favorite scores through some of Final Fantasy games that I had played through. Final Fantasies 4, 5, 6, and like obviously learning to love a lot of the other ones from later series, like say 7, 8, and 9 and whatsoever. But it was the amount of fun I was having enjoying a lot of the musical tracks from the Final Fantasy series in and of itself, on top of cranking up the difficulty from like say easy into like the absolute hardest, and then just trying to master all of those tracks. It was definitely a fantastic experience, and this is another one of those underrated games that I wish more people would have played, because they would have found something that was definitely a great experience for what initially could have been like a forgettable game. This was also a sequel to the original like Final Fantasy, like Theatrhythm Final Fantasy, right? And so it's basically more tracks, more accessible things through DLC and stuff than that game. But this game is obviously the more superior version of it. But at number 21, Final Theatrhythm Final Fantasy Curtain Call.
All right. Very cool, Gables. Very cool. Yeah, that is the first handheld version to make our list, but definitely will not be our last.
Now,
moving on to my number 20 here. This is my first sequel to that. You'll see the first time you'll see a second game of that same franchise on the list, but might not be the last. Gears 5. It was my 2019 game of the year. And it's just kind of more of the goodness of like Gears of War 4, where it's like jumps. This time you actually play as Kate the whole time instead of JD, and Marcus is still there. And it's just more of what you love. It's definitely like one of graphically one of the best looking games I've ever played. I've always talked about that. Like I always talk about I think like Last of Us Part 2, Horizon, and Gears 5 are like those three games for me when I think about like graphical performance of like what I've seen from games, especially HDR with Horizon and Gears 5, where it's like those colors pop so fucking well. Where like that's where you see the shine, especially playing on like an Xbox One X or PS4 Pro, where it's like, oh my god, like you see the power. You see the power, but you also see like these consoles are at their limits with these fucking things.
No shit.
But yeah, like I really enjoy it. I like just kind of like where it's not like they've kind of they didn't like do a crazy like all right now it's open world and it's like whatever, but it's like no, like you there's like multiple like there's different acts in these games. So there's acts and then each act there's a few chapters and like there's two different acts in the game where like you're like in an open area, but it's not like Breath of the Wild size open area, but it's an open
No.
area you can like explore and there's side things you can do. There's where you can find more upgrades you can do to your characters or like things like that where it's like totally it's really like optional boss fights stuff like that, which is really cool. Like a gradual expansion world. We're not just making an open world for the sake of open world. We're definitely changing a little bit with the times, which I'm really happy with. We're not like this is we're not just making a live service because live service is popular now, kind of thing. Where it's like, but anyways, yeah, I love it so much more. It's just more of Gears. It's better. It's getting better over with every single one. I can't wait for a Gear 6. But yeah, it's utterly fantastic. It's my game of the year from 2019. It still is. And it's my number 20 game from this last generation. Gibbles, what's your number 20?
Rocket League.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, you know what? Initially, when I went through and composed this list, I was actually surprised at the placement that I did have for Rocket League
Same
initially.
here with you.
And that's just the thing, man. It's like I played that game a lot. I played it for over 200 some odd hours. I did play plenty of it with the crew of the Talking Ship as well as you as well. We had some great gamer nights with this game when it first came out.
Yeah.
I initially started playing the game on my own, just playing a little bit of single player stuff. Just I would go through the season mode stuff like time after time and stuff with different types of teams, different types of things for the AI stuff because I like that aspect of it. With the latest updates over the past year and stuff, you can't really do that any longer. And
Oh.
so it kind of like depreciated a bit more so. I enjoyed it initially from launch all the way up until like God, at least about a couple of years ago, but I kind of got burnt out of it. But the experience I did have with playing with other people, and like say with our friends with the Talking Ship, and like through my own like individual stuff, whenever I go like come home from work, I just play like a few games in Rocket League. It was just basically that pick up and play mentality. I could play certain online matches, and I have some really fun experiences playing some of those online matches to where I go into one competitive thing and I absolutely smoke the entire team, like just myself because of how much I played it, and my teammates are like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, you were really, really. I remember you were really, really good at that game.
Well, that's the thing, man. That's like I knew in terms of the ground game that if I could time it just right, I could do a block or do like a specific type of shot. And I got it to where I got so good coordinating in terms of on the ground where the ball was going to be at that I would literally have to angle the right analog stick just correctly in order to hit the ball and then for just shoot up all the way. It was just basically me just guessing for a lot of the different times and stuff while I was doing that. But what was kind of hilarious is every time that I would go through a match or something like that, I speed so far ahead, do like my boost, and all of a sudden I kept on flipping my car and this and that. I remember one key thing where it pissed off Jitterbug so much that I did this, but I would be going after the ball so much that he could not really get a goal against like until this one game, and I remember he's being so close, and all of a sudden you see the replay of me going speeding, like flipping the car this way that way, and actually managed to get the ball away from the goal before it crossed the goal line. And we're like, what the fuck? But man, there was so many fun times playing that game, and really there hasn't been an online game since then that's actually organized a lot of us just to play it as sort of a gamer night thing. We've
Yeah.
had other games that we could potentially play, like say a Friday the 13th, or like even even like other games, let's say Among Us and whatever the
Overwatch.
fuck,
Yeah.
Overwatch, a little bits here and there. But Rocket League is where all of us really came together and just
Yeah.
screwed around, maybe had a couple of drinks or something like that, go into a few random stories, like say with Wes and his cat. But
Yeah.
oh my
Yeah.
god, dude. that whole episodic thing. And just to paraphrase briefly upon the story, it's like we have a friend named Wes. He comes on the talking ship occasionally, and he's like, he had this cat inside of this one apartment and stuff like that. And so we was basically talking about his cat. He talked about how he gave the cat string cheese or whatsoever, this cat string cheese and shit.
Forgot the story.
And and so here I am, I'm going through and I'm just picturing in my mind just what happens like with Weston's cat. Like say, and I don't know how this led to this way, but fucking I went through and I told him, it's like, man, can you just imagine this Wes just coming back from his home and stuff like that? He teaching his cat, how to open the door and stuff. And all of a sudden he just goes through, he just goes and sees the door, sees the cat through the window just staring at him. It's like, damn it, Howard, not again. Oh god. And man, we all of us laughed so fucking I think a lot of us laughed so fucking hard from that. God, it was one of the few moments where it's like I am going to admit this, man, but that was one of the few times I've actually pissed myself laughing because it was so fucking hilarious, dude. But yeah, man, those moments are what made that game
Yeah.
fantastic, in my honest opinion.
Mm,
So number 20 is Rocket League.
very nice, man. Very cool. Uh, we'll move on here to number 19 now. My number 19 is it's a game that it came out in 2014. It's a game I just so badly wish. It's a game I wanted for a very long time. Like a good one of these games made. It's a game I so badly want more of. That isn't bullshit ripoff, you know, microtransaction bullshit. Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, it's a game I go back to often, and I'll replay the game again. The can like there's actually a really cool campaign where you go through all the different
Mm.
animes of Yu-Gi-Oh! And being a guy that I love the original Yu-Gi-Oh! It came out when I was still a kid, and replaying through that again was awesome. And like you can replay it from both sides of the perspective. Like you can play as it's Pegasus versus Kaiba. You can play the first time you play, you always play as a good guy the first time. But if you want to switch from the villain side, you can play the villain side, and you can use those guys' deck from that battle, or you can use your own deck. And it's
Yes.
so cool, like getting to actually like use those decks. I remember like you play Yugi versus Kaiba in the first battle, and it's like you play the Exodia deck, or you can build your own deck and play that gets them. And that's something I think that was always something I always thought was more cool. Is like I know your deck, and I'm gonna here's my deck, here's my best deck. I'm gonna beat your guys' stuff. It was always so cool. And it's just like it was what I wanted so much when it was just like the it wasn't it was difficult, but it was like a fair difficult where it was like
Right.
for someone like me that only loved the original anime and fell out of Yu-Gi-Oh before they added all this different stuff, but it's like I can actually jump into it and actually compete and follow like at least that first chunk of it. Like they actually followed like each genre you played of the anime, it followed the rules of that anime, and it was so cool. Like I was playing it, and I was like I was able to like actually like all right, cool. Here's the rules I know, and then like I was able to like understand, grasp, and understand the rules as I go. Where it's like other Yu-Gi-Oh games in the past, where it's like it is like you just jump in and like if you haven't played in 15 years, fuck you, you
Yeah, pretty
suck,
much.
get the fuck out. But it was also there it was just incredibly hard to like to compete in like the story mode in like these tournaments and the older games like on the previous generations where it was just like these guys have the best cards, the best decks, and it's like, oh, you can't beat these guys. Well, you can buy packs of cards with real money if you want to, or you can buy these decks with real money if you want to. And like this one, and like, it definitely has it where like there's all these different decks you can buy or different like battles you can compete against like enemies that
True.
aren't in the main thing, and they're there, and it's kind of bullshit, yeah, but it's like there's enough content in the main game, and it's only like $20 when it came out, where it's like
Yeah, it
I really
was.
like this, and it's like, and there's like different like there's like actual like battles that aren't in the main game, that aren't in the main campaign that you can do, like challenges you can do later, like side ones you can do, and you can face these people and like they're from the animes and their decks they had in those, like oh you can face Rex in his deck from Duelist Kingdom. It's like, all right, cool, that's awesome, and you can fight him in a separate challenge. And it's I put like over 80 hours, and I regularly go back to it. I played it for like 3 or 4 hours during Extra Life just last year, where it's just like
Yeah.
I jumping into it, and it's just like And for I'll go through stretches where I'll re-download it and I'll play it and and it's just like it's like a nice, calm, relaxing game. And it's just like I so badly just want more from it. And like I know they on Switch and stuff like that they've done like an updated version of it where it's just updated cars, but it's like that's not what I want. I want just like give me like just give me a fucking world championship like you used to in Game Boy Advance. Give me that. Like I so badly it's like the case where like I talk about with like Until Dawn or Outlast where it's like those kind of killed the genre for me. And it's like this kind of like reinvigorate that genre for me where it's like I was so badly I love the card battling genre. I think it's like I said it's a nostalgia thing or anything. I'll admit that, but it's just like but I think that's the case for even like regular Yu-Gi-Oh fans like that are like that keep track of it and keep playing it. It's like that don't do bullshit cheats to like unlock all the cards. That there's people that we know that have done that, and like to just just be able to play the game and compete in the game. It's like that's not fun. It's like I want to actually like like any other game. I want to play, get better, and progress. I don't mind losing.
Yeah.
That's fine, but like I want to progress, get better, relearn my strategies, and play it. Instead of just like oh you can't beat this guy. He kills you in 2 turns very easily. Oh that sucks. Well spend $20 and maybe you'll get better. That
Oh
shit. It's like
God.
this didn't do that. And I loved it so much for that. And yeah, I just want more. I just want more from it. That's all I want. That's my number 19. Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of Duels. Gills, what's your number 19?
All right. So my number 19 is a game that I have platinumed, and that is A Hat in Time.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say Goat Simulator.
Oh no, no, no,
Pitter pot.
no, no, no. That's in the red X mark of shame.
Oh, number one.
But
Okay.
for Hat in Time, it was part of a genre that has long since been long since been dormant. But this game is a 3D platformer that hits a lot of cues that I remember enjoying from classic games like Banjo Kazooie, Donkey Kong 64, even to some aspect like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro to some aspects. This game is fun. It has a lot of quirky stuff. I heard plenty about it before the game released, including from some of my old coworkers that really were into 3D platformers back in the day. Really liked how the Kickstarter was for A Hat in Time. There were a lot of quirks that I did love about the game, but mostly it was just pure fun to go into a similar sort of 3D platforming sort of style that I remember playing for Mario 64, Banjo Kazooie in that regards, and this just have fun just collecting everything, going through the different worlds, going through the different like different levels, doing races in this one train world or whatsoever. But I remember my time playing it and enjoying it for what it was. It even had Super Mario Sunshine inspired obstacle courses and stuff to where you could do this various obstacle courses in order to get this hourglass. So when you're playing as Hat Kid, who basically that's the name of the girl that you could control, Hat Kid, you have to collect all of these hourglasses and stuff in order to fuel your ship to get back to your home. So you go through a lot of these different worlds. You get to go through a lot of these different characters you get to experience. There's this one world initially where it's Mafia Town, so you have to go through with a lot of the Mafia people plus the mob boss you got to contend with, along with your rival quintessentially is this girl right with a mustache with the red, almost looks like a Little Red Riding Hood quintessentially. So an accident happened and she actually grew a mustache as a result from it. But what's fun about it just how traditional it is, but at the same time it's more of what I enjoyed in the past. So there's some nostalgia stuff, but it's also a fairly good game. It plays competently. You could play it on platforms like say Steam, PS4, and obviously the Switch. Yes, there's a Switch version of it. DLC, I have never played it, but at the same time, it quintessentially hit all of those marks of what I look for of a great 3D platformer, which was replayable levels, fun music, great sense of humor, in that regard. So it's basically why it's ranked so high on my list.
Oh, nice, very cool, Gables. Um, my number 18 is the first Wii U game on the list. Uh, Mario
Hmm.
Kart 8.
Wow. There you
It's
go.
it's the game that made me jump back into getting a Wii, maybe jump into getting a home console again for the with Nintendo and for the Wii U. I remember like going on, I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy this bundle, and I ended up finding like a like Nintendo refurbished one for like $200, and like right when this came out, and I jumping in, just like being a guy that like fell off of Nintendo very hard, and like probably like 2007 ish, 2008 maybe, um, and just not carrying, fell off the DS, fell off the Wii, all that,
Hmm.
and jumping up, getting a 3DS by like probably a few months before this, and not really caring. I didn't care for the Mario Kart and the Wii. Didn't care for Mario Kart. Double Dash was fine. Mario Kart Wii was okay, and then like even like Mario Kart 7 on 3DS was like, all right, it's fine. And like jumping into Mario Kart 8, and it's just like I don't know why, it's just like totally like changed it up for me.
Clicked.
Yeah, yeah, everything. Yeah, it was a switch of just where I was like I put a shit ton of time into this. Whereas it's like I beat all 50cc, got 100, 150, even did mirror mode. Like something I hadn't done since the Mario Kart DS one, where I put hundreds of hours in Mario Kart DS.
Mm,
Uh, it's my all
quality.
time favorite Mario Kart game, but until like jump in from like where I just didn't give a fuck for years, close to a decade of Mario Kart, to like jumping in like loving this, buying the DLC, playing all that, and just like so excited to just have more of it. And like even to this day, like and it's crazy. Like, this is the last Mario Kart game we've gotten, and that was 2013, 2014,
It
2014.
was like around 2014, I think
Yeah,
it
I think
was.
it was on my top 10 list 2014, I believe. Um, yeah, like just jumping back into like getting back into it was just like it hits me more because it's like not only was it like it's not only the game that got me back into Nintendo in the console genre. It's just it got me back into Mario Kart, got me, and it's just like it's a great game on top of that. Where like it really I felt turned that genre around. Where I felt like Mario Kart was in a weird place. Where it's just like I feel like they were trying to do different things with like with Mario Kart Double Dash. It's like okay, maybe we're trying to do some weird uh, you know, uh, uh, what's the word I'm looking for here? Twist on the game. Like everything's gonna have its own style to it. And it's like
Right.
DS didn't have that style, but it had online play, which was cool. But it's like Mario Kart Wii. It's like it's Wii, so it's motion control. And then 3D Mario Kart 7 came out, and it was just like it's basic, it's fine. I don't know. I just but something about this one just hit me. It's like it was so much better. It's the just the game peaked at that point. I remember like going to like a Best Buy with Justin because like for like 2 3 years in a row, uh, during like E3, Nintendo would have like you go to like Best Buys, like they'd have like you could play Smash Brothers on Wii U for the first time, or you could play
Oh my god.
Mario Kart for the first time, or Wind Waker HD for the first time. And it's like I remember going and getting to play this and that. That's kind of where like I felt it. Where I was like I'm playing that with, and I didn't have a Wii U at this point. And it was just like I didn't have a 3DS at this point. I was going over with Justin's go play Mario Kart with Justin. Was what I was going for, and I was like going in like that was like when I was like I really like that. Like, this is really cool. This is really I like where this is going. Yeah. So Mario Kart 8 is my number 18. Gables, what's your number 18?
My number 18 is Super Mario 3D Land.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
this is the game that simultaneously, in my honest opinion, kickstarted the 3DS for what the potential of it could be. Until that point and stuff, the 3DS was quintessentially struggling, to say the least. It launched at too high of a price point. The games really weren't really there in regards to most of the first year. There only at that point was like two note wild games that I can remember that people were clamoring for, and that was the remake of Ocarina of Time and this game, Super Mario 3D Land. Now, bearing before, Mario games and stuff, like Mario platforming games, you'd have New Super Mario Brothers for the Wii, obviously, but the other one was like Super Mario Brothers, like DS in that regards, that quintessentially had that sort of traditional style. of like Mario games, but we were more or less looking for something more substantial at that time. So when 3D Land came out, the game in and of itself was a fantastic experience from beginning to end. There was a lot of good level design. There was a lot of good classic things returning to that game, which, you know, it took me by surprise a little bit because the art style, a lot of the cutscenes that you would go through, like those little like character like slides and stuff, were reminiscent of one of my favorite games of all time, Super Mario Brothers 3. So that was good and appealing. Certain power ups returned from that game too, like the Tanuki suit, which was more or less sort of like a flutter sort of thing where you gradually go down and stuff, and you could use the 3D to do specific like perspective changes and this and that. I used it a little bit, but more or less I like to play Super Mario 3D Land to not really in 3D, but more like an authentic sort of 3D platformer and stuff. And that was what was so awesome. It was like a more competent like 3D platformer on the go, you know, where you could complete a couple of courses and then like you could do like a little collectathon thing. But from beginning to end, this was a great quality Mario game that was more reminiscent of something you would play on the console. And so that was like one of those big firsts and stuff like that for that from from like a handheld perspective to where you could get a console like Mario experience on the go with the 3DS, because obviously it was like Super Mario Sunshine was like one of those last big like console games, like console Mario games at that point
Mm.
before they Nintendo went with the whole new Super Mario Brothers like field and the whole 2D perspective going back to their roots. So that's why it is at the spot where it's at. So Super Mario 3D Land, fantastic.
Nice. Very cool, Gables. Um, what was that? Was it number 18 you just did there?
Yes.
Yes. So number 17, sticking with Nintendo, uh, is a game that got me. It's the game that got me back into Nintendo. It's the reason I bought a 3DS instead of a PS4. And it's a game called Pokemon X. Technically
Hmm.
Pokemon X and Y. But I was just talking about with Mario Kart 8, where it's just like that was the game that got me back on the home consoles. This is the game that got me back in Nintendo in general. Or jumping in, it was like we were just talking about on the previous episode we just did about when we talked about Diamond and Pearl. It's like I fell off uh, 10 so hours into Diamond. Was Diamond? I think it was Diamond I bought. And I just I fell off, and I was just like, all right, well, I fell off Nintendo completely. But I was just like watching that gameplay, those directs for the first time, like, and kind of like it really was like we're trying to get back that old genre. We recognize we have lost a good chunk of that fan base from the original ones, and a lot of it's just because they've grown up. But it's like we want to get those back, and it's just like jumping in. It's like they have you can the mega evolutions you can do, and it's just like, hey, like here's your starters, and then a little bit later in you're gonna be able to pick your starters between Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle, and this is like say no more. I'm in. And I got
Two
myself my
sets of starters.
yeah. It's just like I got my Greninja and I got my Charizard, and I was a happy boy. And then a little later, I got my Lucario, and I was very happy. Um, but yeah, it's like also this is the fact with like the XP share also as well, where it's like that was a total game changer for me. Whereas it's like I don't have to grind, a shit ton anymore, and it's like it looked completely different, not completely different, but it was like definitely like it felt like for the first time since really the original Pokemon games, where it was like we were make some changes to like the way this game plays, the way it runs, where it's like there was definitely I remember like playing that game where it's like I remember you got the first two badges like really quickly, like in the first couple hours, bam,
Hmm.
you got your two starters, you got your two badges, but then there was like a stretch where you're just doing other shit, and like you don't do any badges for a while. And it's like there's breaks in between these badges. It wasn't just like here's a mine you're gonna do, for a half an hour to kind of break up the monotony of like here's you get badge 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It just totally felt like it was like it wasn't like a complete like overhaul, but it was definitely like
Right.
we are making changes. Like we were like we know there's fans like it was a good way of like balancing the old with the new of like there's the fans that still currently love these franchises, but it's also like we recognize there's a fan base here that's gone away that we want to bring back, but also like went a way of changing it, but also like here's like a good way, like it was a good way to ease them back in. And I was that guy, and it was just like got a 3DS because of it, and I remember just sitting down and like just could not quit playing this game. I was like loving it, and it's like it wasn't overly hard. It wasn't like this is what I want from a Pokemon game as an older fan, as a lapsed fan, where I don't keep up with the Pokemon games like you do, Gables, or a lot of people where it's like, like they love all the stuff that they're the guy that goes on Celebi on the website and like they know all like the different strategies you can do and all the different things you can do. And it's just like I'm the guy I just want to pick up a Pokemon game, play through it, and then put it down, and I'm
Yeah.
very happy with that. And like Pokemon X and Y, that genre was like so incredibly awesome. And it's just like it's like it's a moment that like I definitely like I enjoyed the Pokemon games I play, but like that is to me is like the highlight of my adult life as far as like nostalgia coming back and hit me, where it's like there's no other there I don't know other than Metal Gear, there's nothing else nostalgia wise that can hit me the way Pokemon does as an adult. So yeah, that is my number 17, Pokemon X. Gable, what's your number 17?
All right. You remember when I said I liked music games earlier on?
Is it can I guess is it a Persona game? I'm already
You know me
typing it
all
out.
too well. Not one, but these two are pretty much tied together in that regards, and that's Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight and Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight. Both of them are quintessentially the same style of game to where go through a bunch of different tracks. You go through and complete a lot of the various conditions through the Shu and story modes between both of them, which they both intertwine with each other because it's like pretty much like a dance off thing from like one side to the other side and this and that. But the reason why it's so high up on this list is because of how fun and how much enjoyment and entertainment I've gotten through replaying a lot of these songs. Both the soundtracks for Persona 3 and Persona 5 are excellent. And in regards to the remixes, in regards to different types of stylings and different types of like ways you can customize like characters and definitely add some bit of difficulties or some sort of handicaps or some sort of like elements, the customization in general is excellent. If you really want to, you can get like a bunch of DLC stuff with different tracks and different this and that. But I spend most of my time relaxing after a hard day of work, just chilling with some music. I've streamed both games multiple times up on my Twitch channel whenever I felt like I'm in the mood to stream something. Both of these dancing games are, in my honest opinion, some of the best on the PlayStation 4. Definitely fun, definitely addicting. I honestly, I love the Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight a little bit more now because of how much I've went through Persona 5 and this and that. But it's with so much like fun and so much replayability, and the fact that I pretty much have a love of music in general. So going through a lot of these tracks, a lot of these quality stuff, really makes it much more appealing towards me, considering that I can go through, do the different types of beats, different types of like rhythm stuff. But man, going through a lot of these tracks from the easiest all the way to the all night difficulty, man, some of these tracks were on freaking fire. Especially if you want to go through some of the hardest tracks in the entire game where all of the stars are maxed out and just having that feeling of clearing all of that through like a 3 or 4 minute song and getting a complete perfect, which I have done multiple times before, is an amazing feeling. And the sense of challenge, the sense of accomplishment and just completing these games is more or less more of a reason to go and invest in them. They're constantly on sale on PSN, and honestly, technically, they're you can also play on the Vita as well if you want to. And that was one of the funniest things about it is the trophy list for both the Vita version, the PS4 version. They're intermixed.
Hmm.
So it's like if you played one version, you played the other one. So it's like, yeah, you could quite honestly say that I have like two like Vita games for this spot.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, that was number 17.
Yep.
Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight, and Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight.
Very cool games. I'm actually I knew they'd be on your list. I thought I honestly thought they'd be higher. Um,
Mm.
my number 16 is a game I love very very much. I mean obviously I guess if they're on my list I love them, but it was a game that came out in 2017. It's just one of the games that like one of the biggest surprises for me this entire generation of a game that I didn't give any shits about. Like I heard about it. It's not a AAA game or anything like that, but it's a game I heard about coming out, and like it came, like it was like really like the week like of it came out and people were talking about it. It was like, oh, okay, I kind of like what I'm hearing from this. It's a game called Hellblade. Um,
Ah, there you go.
yeah, so it's a game that it's funny enough. It was a PS4 exclusive now, and now the studio is now owned by Xbox. So it's like a $30 game that came out. It's only digitally. It's on Game Pass now. It's on everything. But Senua's is it Senua's Sacrifice? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember what the sequel is called. So I was like, oh wait, it's Senua's Sacrifice. But it's just a cool game where it's like you're Senua, like her fiance, or I guess fiance or husband dies, and she's trying to like it takes place in Norse mythology. This is before even God of War came out, and it's funny. Like I watched a God of War documentary that PlayStation did for the making of God of War, and they mentioned Hellblade. It's like oh like they're talking about like Cory Barlog, the director of God of War, is talking about like Norse mythology. No one's ever touched. No one's really delved into this. Like Egyptian, Greek mythology. It's done to death, whatever. It's like Norse mythology. No one's ever done that really with like outside of like the Thor movies with Marvel. It's like and then fucking Hellblade comes out and it's like god damn it. And it does say it negatively, but it's kind of like a shout out, but it's cool. But anyways, Hellblade, jumping into like Norse mythology, and it's like she's trying to find a way to bring her dead husband back to life, and she's literally carrying the head of her husband with her as she's going, and it's like the added on top of that where she's dealing with like the psychosis, these mental issues, where it's like it's so fucking great. Where like they say like they recommend like you play this with a headset, and it really
Right.
like it's like it, but it's true. Where it's like I remember putting on my headset, my Turtle Beaches, and like like you have that angel on your shoulder and your devil on the other shoulder and your
Yep.
ear, where it's like one's telling you to do one thing, the other one's telling you to do the other. Where she's dealing with like mental issues with anxiety and depression and all this and grief and everything, and on top of that, like she's dealing with the fact that like as a gamer, you're dealing with the fact that like they tell you like if you die enough in like these spots, you can lose your game save and have to start all over again. And like
Wow.
I don't know how true that was, and it's like it sounds like it's true technically, but it's like the amount of times you have to die would be insane for it to happen. But it also has like you can set it to like it has like a scaling difficulty where like if you're just kicking ass at this section, it'll up the difficulty. It'll tell you when it does it, but it'll up the difficulty level to kind of give you a challenge when you need it. Or if you're getting your ass whooped, it'll lower it. And you could set it to like easy, normal, hard, or to the scrolling difficulty. And I always remember putting on the scrolling one. It was so awesome. Where it's like just when you're in the breaking point of like fuck this game, it's just like it gives you that break when you need it, and it works so well. Um, and just with Senua, like just dealing with her, like this woman, like just going through like probably the worst pain you can imagine going through as a person, like of losing another, um, up there losing a dog, and just dealing with all these issues and just like going through and like fighting all these crazy battles, fighting these awesome boss fights. And it's not a very long game. It's like a 6 hour long campaign. And I remember like the final boss. So spoiler alert for a 4-year-old game at this point. Um, when you like the way the game ends is you're supposed to fail at the final boss fight, and I didn't realize that. And I spent 40 like it's not a boss fight. It's like you're just fighting waves of enemies, and I didn't realize that. And I'm just fucking annihilating these enemies, and I'm like, why am I not like what the fuck am I doing wrong here? I could not figure out what I was doing wrong, and I'm just like killing enemies on like just destroying them, and I finally like I die and like the game ends. I'm like, oh, okay. I was supposed to die, or I was supposed to fail. I was supposed to lose. I didn't realize it. It's just dealing with that, and it's just like, yeah. It's just the world is so well made. Like there's so many cool sections of like her dealing with like these mental issues, and it's like it's not like a cheesy or like a bad way done. It's so well done. Um, yeah, it's so great. It's on Game Pass, and it's like I've been tempted to go back and replay it, especially, um, with Hellblade 2 coming hopefully
Right.
soon in the next year or so. But yeah, Hellblade, my number 16 game of the generation. Gables, what's your number 16, buddy?
All right. So my number 16 game is going to be a little bit surprising to some,
Hellblade.
but no.
Okay.
It's Destiny 2.
Ooh, okay. Okay.
Okay. So with that shock reaction, let me explain myself. So Destiny 2, when that game first launched, the initial campaign, I thought was all right. It definitely was better than the original Destiny, which honestly, that wasn't much of a feat to go through a match because of how that was going on. Yes,
I
Tyler.
have my hand up. I just want to point out it's not really a shock that's on your list. I'm just shocked where it's at. To be fair, it was borderline on my list as well.
Really?
So yes, I just want to point
Nice.
that out. But go ahead.
Well, the reason why it's so high on the list isn't necessarily because of, say, the story missions and stuff like that. I mean, I've played through most of Forsaken. I've completed Shadowkeep. I have gone through the whole Beyond Light stuff. It's more or less because of the co-op experience and because being inside of a co-op experience with a couple other friends that I know, it's made me enjoy the game a lot more. And also, it's made me like enjoy certain aspects of Destiny 2, which I didn't think I'd be getting into, but I did start getting into. Like the whole aspect of how vital it is to have somebody that knows a lot about specific types of missions, especially for exotic missions or what you need to go and what you need to do. Because some of the most rewarding things I have played through in gaming this generation has been completing certain exotic quests inside of Destiny 2. Like, for a good example, the one exotic mission that we completed months ago. God, I want to say like back around October or so or
Beyond Light.
November. Where what's up?
You're talking about Beyond Light, right?
Yeah, actually, it was before Beyond Light.
Oh, okay. Okay.
This is a little bit before Beyond Light, before the DLC came out. My friends and I wanted to go on this run and stuff to get this exotic sniper rifle called the Whisper of the Winds or something like that, the Whisper of the Worms. So quintessentially, it's this hyper powerful sniper rifle with max impact and this and that. And we had to go through this same section, go to this gauntlet like 4 or 5 different like rooms and stuff, and do things exactly. They needed me because I was more or less wanted to go through with the compact bows, right? So they needed a ranged person. So I would initially do support with my sweet business, which was an exotic like auto rifle that I'd use alongside different couple other mods that would just mow through waves of enemies. But I'd switch it through a compound bow, which was anywhere between an Arcitec, like dash something rather that had like explosive rounds, and then something else to try to switch things up a bit. And we tried over and over and over. We tried at least for a good solid 2 weeks until we finally fucking got this exotic sniper rifle. And when we did it, it was amazing. It felt amazing. It felt like a big accomplishment. Oh, and there was like another accomplishment that we did where we were going through this one main mission and stuff, and it was such a long portion to go through and try to accomplish this, but we kept chipping away at it over and over again to where we got to this boss room, right? And what you have to do is there's these 3 disciples, right? And then you have this big dude that's like right the main boss. So in order for us to get the best out of this thing that we could possibly do, we had to defeat all 3 of these like these acolytes and stuff at the same time in order to get the max amount of effect to defeat the boss. And so quintessentially what had happened was one of my friends triggered the attack. I go through with my super with my Titan, right? And I do my little hammer swing that I'm doing, and I'm getting all 3 of them at the same time because I figured out there was a portion that we could trap them in. And so all 3 of them, like, they die, put them essentially at the same time. I switched to my sweet business auto rifle, and I just lay waste to the freaking, like, boss. And so my sweet, like, my sweet business is, like, just mowing through. It's like a Gatling gun, like, auto rifle. It went through all that. It just took them out, and we were just pumped because all of that hard work was worth it. And the last one I could mention is through an exotic rocket launcher called the Xenophage, where you have to complete these different types of puzzles on the moon, right? Because it's more or less like a moon sort of exotic. And so we completed these puzzles. We went through the whole rigmarole of like the different boss battles because we had to do a boss battle there. We finally got that stuff satisfied. But it's just the fact that it's not more or less the single player experience of going through the basic weeklies or going through the specific dailies or earning certain random drops or whatsoever, but it's because of a lot of the co-op missions and the certain aspects of the story that you get to experience with other people that makes this game more enjoyable in regards to a lot of different like perspectives than say how you would just do it by yourself. And especially being inside of a clan, getting all these random loot drops and stuff like that when they've completed a lot of these things throughout the week, it just makes the game a lot more enjoyable. So that's why it's at number 16 on my list.
Nice, very cool, Gables. So we reached on 10. I just want to do like a
Yeah.
quick recap for everybody here. Um, so I'm gonna run through Gables here real fast. 25 Outlast, 24 21 Pro Skater 1 2, 23 A Way Out, 22 Gravity Rush, 21 Final Fantasy Curtain Calls, 20 Rocket League, 19 Hat in Time, 18 Super Mario 3D Land, 17 Persona 3 and 5 Dancing in Moonlight, Dancing in Starlight, 16 Destiny 2. My number 25 through 16 here. 25 Outlast, 24 Gears 4, 23 Evil Within 2, 22 Wolfenstein 2, 21 Until Dawn, 20 Gears 5, 19 Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duels, 18 Mario Kart 8, 17 Pokemon X, 16 Hellblade. I think so far we only have one game in common. Yes, we do.
Yes.
At this point. Well, Gables, I'm about to make that two games in common. My number 15 is
Yep.
A Way Out.
There you go.
It's all the same things you were saying earlier. Um, just it's a if you were to play this game by yourself, and obviously it's built for multiplayer, but like it's by itself, it's an okay game. Like the gameplay isn't like the shooting isn't great at all. The story isn't like super fantastic. It's not the greatest story of all time, but it's just like it really is a game of moments. Is really what it is. And it's like I hope we have the same thing. And it's now my time. It's 12:54 a.m. March 1st, Gables. So we're just a few weeks out. This month we'll be playing.
Yes.
Hopefully, It Takes Two,
Mm-hmm.
the next game from the developers of uh, A Way Out. But it's a game of moments of just like I said, like you're back to back and you're trying to climb up this wall and like, you gotta tap the button or you're gonna fall and you got to get out or you got like you gotta watch the guard while I fucking chisel this hole in the wall for in the where the toilet is behind the toilet or like the epic 4 minute long arm wrestling contest that we have or playing checkers or the escaping the hospital or like there's a cool twist actually with the characters later in the game that I liked a lot. Um, or like just I suppose sitting down on the seesaw and all that. It's just like it's a really fun. It's just a really fun game. It's just like really is like a game where like you get like there's games where you gotta work together, but it's like it's AI in this game. Like you can't play this game with an AI person, and like
No.
it's better. It's like does it kind of suck that like you can't do that, but it's like but it's like if you could play this with an AI person, this game, no one would remember this. It would just be a game that came out and
No.
no one cared. And no one would care about the fact that It Takes Two comes out in a few weeks. No one would give a shit when that game is coming out. It's like we love this game because of like playing with another person. It's so fucking good. It's so much fun. I had a blast playing it. Um, and I can't wait to play It Takes Two in just a few weeks. Gables, that's my number 15 though. Way Out. What's your number 15, buddy?
My number 15 is Untitled Goose Game.
Noise. I totally forgot about this game. Wait. Oh yeah, cause I was. You know why I forgot? I didn't put this game on my list because I was
Why?
thinking of it because I played it on the Switch, and I was thinking of it as
Yes.
a Switch game, but it's on everything.
Yes, that's the thing. It's like with a bunch of these indie games and stuff like that. I mean, technically, some of us did play on the Switch, but they're available on other platforms like PC, PS4, Xbox One, so they count.
Mm-hmm.
So, Untitled Goose Game. Jesus Christ, man, where to begin with this one? I guess long story short is it is so satisfying playing as an asshole goose. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the amount of enjoyment I got out of this simple premise is amusing to me. And it just starts with you when it's actually swimming in your pond, just like going through, ringing a bell, going to the first initial section where you get to harass this one farmer, just
Steal
going
his
through,
rice.
stealing the stuff, wrecking the shit,
Have a picnic.
ruin the picnic, go through a whole lot of this other rigmarole, going to the next section, tripping a kid with his own shoelaces, stealing his glasses, honking at him. And of course, one of my favorite things to do, is like to take the farmer's equipment while he's chasing me and I just toss it in the water. And all of a sudden, he just looks at it, just disgust. And I just like, honk, 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 honk. Every freaking time that like I ended up doing something terrible to somebody, it didn't matter whether tripping the tripping the damn kid or throwing the farmer's like tools inside there or fucking getting that woman's bra or something to that guy's like yard and then her discovering he has her bra and stuff like that. I'd always go out with a little and it would fucking make my day all the more better. This game returns back to the simple premise of a video game, in my honest opinion. With games like that in like Goat Simulator, it's just pure fun. You're just screwing around. You're just basically experimenting with things. Like, hey, it's like, what's going to happen if I go through and open up this garage door and lead this woman inside? And all of a sudden it's like you figure out, oh, I can close her inside here.
Yep.
Screw you. I'm going on this way.
Chaos.
Just pure chaos. But it's such a fun, controlled sort of thing of chaos where it is so enjoyable. It is our game of the year for 2019, I think I want to say.
Yeah, it was your number 3 and my number 2.
Yeah, it was such a fun experience that Tyler and I still think of it as very highly. And my
Mm-hmm.
God, it's like every time I think back of this game, I just have nothing but positive things and a lot of good memories of it. Because there is not too many games that are akin to that, where you can just fondly remember it. It's very fun to play from beginning to end, and it's something you didn't know that you want, but once you get it, it's like it just surpasses every expectation.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But it's like the reason why it's like at the number 15 slot as opposed to being like say lower or even on the honorable mentions is because of how goddamn enjoyable it was. I mean, granted, you could play a couple hundred hours of a game like say in Destiny 2 or like in Rocket League, but you gotta have. But if you have an experience to where you have a chunk of 5 hours that's like incredibly excellent or incredibly just memorable, of course you're gonna remember that more so than you did an hour 56 of Destiny 2, where it's
Mm.
like you're sitting inside of a freaking lobby or something, and all of a sudden you have to wait 20 minutes for one of your guys to get on so that way you can go through another gambit match. It's like those obscure situations, and then all of a sudden, like thinking back to the whole chunk of experience of a 5 hour game to where you had a blast like from beginning to end and kept on trying things even afterwards and replaying the game and finding even more stuff that you can screw around with. It's one of the reasons why we play video games is because we want to experience a situation or I want to experience a certain event or even like from another like creature, another person's perspective that makes it all the more worthwhile. And that's why it's number 15 on my list.
Very cool games. I'm so bummed I forgot about that game. Um, not that I forgot about it. I thought of it as a Switch game. Um, well, my number 14 is to me, I think the greatest first-person shooter campaign I have played, and that
Hmm.
is a game called Titanfall 2.
There
Um,
you go.
yeah, it's so fucking good. I mean, like I should preface that by saying like it's the best first-person shooter game I played in that style of like it's from Respawn. It's like the Call of Duty guys, like from that style of game, like where you expect where like a lot of games coming out that time frame where like Advanced Wars, like, oh, we're gonna Advanced Warfare, and stuff like that, where it's like we're doing wall jumping, stuff like that, where it's like these guys, and like the like just the combination of like jumping into like into a mech and having these awesome fucking mech fights, to like where I don't give a fuck about mech fights or mechs or whatsoever, to like them jumping in and just having a really fucking incredible and awesome fucking uh campaign of just like wall jumping, and like the way everything flows together so well. It's so fucking great. And like the actual, like, it's kind of like, I've always kind of prefaced myself more of as like, I love a great story more so than a really great well played game, and that's mostly true for me for the most part. And that's kind of like in this where it's like a really fun, really well made game, but it's a cool story on top of that as well. And I'm so bummed that like this game was like sent out to die, where it's like we're gonna put this game out the week before Call of Duty. Yeah, before Call of Duty comes out,
Yeah.
we're gonna put this out the week after Call of Duty's gonna come out, and then Battlefield 1's gonna come out, because we're gonna put these two games out to fucking try to kill Call of Duty, and instead we just killed Titanfall instead. Um, and it's just fucking bummer, because this game is so fucking well made, and I guess we got, Respawn's still doing great shit. We got Apex from, and Fallen Order out of it too, but like the company didn't suffer from it, but Titanfall might have. And I hope to God we get a Titanfall 3 one of these days, but it's so well made, and even the fucking online is really really fun. Was playing the online regularly. Not like I didn't put like 100 hours into it, but I was like, I put a good 15, 20 solid hours into the online, which is a lot for me, even for someone that play, if I was playing with friends, like, just I play this all by myself. Just like I kept going back into the multiplayer because I was having so much fun with it. It's just like it's such a well made game, it's just a great game. I played it on Xbox, and like my sister bought it for me. I liked it so much when I beat an Xbox One that I asked my sister to buy it for me just like a month later for Christmas on PS4, so I could play it again. And I played through like 3/4 of it, and it's like I still have the disc version sitting over there. Like I can jump in and play it anytime. I think we might have got it free for like PS Plus as well. But yeah, an amazing game. It's an awesome game. My number 14, Titanfall 2. Gables, what's your number 14?
All right. So my number 14 is actually going to be another Vita game. It's going to be Danganronpa
Oh,
Trigger
okay.
Happy Havoc. Now, another type of game genre that I like is the visual novel slash mystery game. I love the Phoenix Wright series. Ace Attorney 1, 2, and 3 I played through on the DS. Danganronpa came out of nowhere for me when this game came out on the Vita. Actually, it was a friend that I had known through college that suggested I should play them. He actually allowed me to borrow a couple of his Danganronpa games for Vita, and so I was able to play through both of them. And quite honestly, I think Danganronpa, the first one, is a fantastic story from beginning to end. And that is part of the reason why it's so high on this list, is because of all the complexities inside of its story, and also inside of like the way you get to find out certain aspects. And let's be perfectly honest with you, a lot of this stuff is simplistic in terms of like common sense. Okay, this is the reason why this happened this way, or this person happened that way, or whatsoever. It basically, you have 5 cases in all, and so you get to solve these murder cases one by one and stuff. Different people have, different students have been gathered together to being the ultimate of a specific type, like the ultimate baseball star, the ultimate pop sensation, and like you come in as like the ultimate lucky student because you won in terms of a lottery to go to this Hope Speak Academy school and stuff. But what turns into like this whole like supposed high school setting and stuff with the ultimate students with a bright future and stuff becomes a grim turntable where it's like they're now hostages inside of like this big old like murder school simulation, quintessentially, where it's like they are quintessentially being ruled upon by this like evil bear by the name of Monokuma, right? So it's like a robotic bear that forces the students and stuff to follow these specific school rules, and one of them includes like you have to kill each other inside this killing game and this and that. And so, from this crazy aspect, and entirely can be absurd in certain points, it turns what is crazy into like a cohesive sort of story to where by the end of case 3, even like being a case 4 and everything else, it's like a lot of the stuff that you did think about and you did like try to assume different things starts to twist and turn, and so there are different types of twists that do happen, and it's like, whoa, that caught me off guard. And then all of a sudden the final case where everything comes to center field, and all of a sudden it's like you get the whole aspect of what's actually happening in terms of how the story is progressing and why it's like this, to where it's like, wow, that's actually pretty crazy. There were different situations where I would complete the case and I was left thinking, I was like, wow, what the fuck, like how it literally got me thinking about how these characters would interact with one another and stuff, and how things played into another, about why there were certain motivations, why one student would kill the other, and then like how specific characters you would like all of a sudden would just like randomly like just die because you were so interested in learning more about their side stories and stuff. And that's just the game in and of itself, where it's strong in a narrative sense. It has it has to have a fantastic story, in my opinion. There are a lot of memorable characters. Yeah, it's sort of like an anime high school sort of like battle royale sort of style of game, but at the same time, it is a fantastic game. I love it, and that's why it's at number 14.
Very nice, Kills. Very
Well,
nice.
actually, was it 14? Yeah,
Yeah,
14.
14. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Uh, we're halfway through the list. I'm gonna call for a quick 2-minute pee break. So,
Yes.
all
Here
right,
we go.
all right. We'll be right back and give us 2 minutes. We'll be right back, guys. We're gonna take a pee break. Alrighty. Oh, I feel a solid 32 ounces lighter. All right. So sorry for that, guys, but we are an hour and 40 minutes into this stream here, and
Dude, it's justified. We needed a break.
yeah, we needed a couple minutes there to drain the main vein and also get up, stand up for a second, get up, stand up for our rights. Quote Bob Marley there. All right, we're gonna move on here to our. Now we are finished the kind of the first half here because I guess it's the odd number, so you can't do a half break here. But we're moving on to our number 13, Gables. Uh, we were at 2 games in common now. We're now up to 3 games because my number 13 is a game called Rocket League, and it's more the same like
Hey.
what you kind of spoke already, where it's just like it was a game that like it was I had a blast playing that game, just going through like the league season mode, whatever, by myself. I had a lot of fun with that, and jumping in a lot with like with my friends, especially that first like, year or two with it coming out, where I was playing it often enough that I was still like on par with everybody playing, but then like I'd only ever play it like on Extra Life or like maybe one other time a year after that, but like a decent chunk of people in our group would like continually play that game throughout like the year, and like that would be like
Mhm.
that, or that'd be like the one game they would like they'd play like 2 or 3 games, and that'd be one of them, and it's just like jumping into it, it's like I get back in, and I'm like I'm like relearning how to play this game, and it's like everybody else is like never stopped playing the game, and it's like I am and I am hindering anybody's team I'm on, and it's like you guys are winning in spite of me, or we're losing because of me, kind of thing. But it's like yeah, it's kind of the same idea where it's like I had a blast playing this game. I put you put over 200 hours into it. I put over 100
Yeah.
hours into it, and I had a lot of fun playing to it. And like every now and then I'll jump back into it and play it. It's like I'm having fun, but it's like definitely like the case of like the only time the only reason I don't like jumping back into it anymore is just because like it's kind of the same issue we see with a lot of like live service game where it's like you just if you like, we're not the type to like play these games all the time over and over and over again for months on end.
Yeah.
Like we'll play it for stretches here and there, or we'll get into it for a couple weeks and then jump back into it every so often. But it's like it's definitely one of those cases where like if you fall off for a few months, like you're behind kind of thing. It's like it's kind of the same idea here where it's like it's like, I'm not trying to speak ill of it, but it's like definitely one of those cases where it's like it would probably be higher if it was like a game that like I mean it would be higher if it was a game 7 years later I was still playing regularly, but it's like definitely one of those things where it's like you like yeah I've definitely burnt out on it, but it's like to be fair with all these other games on my list so far, it's like they're short enough experiences or like they're campaign based games where it's like you beat the game, you move on from it, you don't get a chance to burn out on them, and like I think but like that shows you like even though it's a game I burnt out on after over 100 hours of playing, it's like I still had a blast playing it. It's like like definitely some of our most fun memories of the generation are because of this game. It's just like jumping in. It's like it's more so you're playing this game because it's a game you have in common with your friends, and you're just bullshitting with your friends while you play this game, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. So my number 13 is a Rocket League. Gables, what's your number 13?
So my number 13 is the sequel to my last game. So it's Danganronpa 2.
Wow. Okay.
it's let's see, it's Danganronpa 2, which oh yes, Goodbye Despair. So that was the subtitle of the damn thing. But it's quintessentially more of the same. It's like a murder mystery sort of thing. This time it's on a tropical island. There's new thing of like high school students that you have to go through and do, but it does tie into the first game in specific aspects. But let's just say that it gets even crazier in terms of the cases, in terms of like all the twists and stuff in regards to it, and kind of like in the same in the first game, like once case 3 goes through and ends and stuff, it quintessentially gets even more crazier and stuff like that. But it's solid, not so convoluted. But once a lot of your favorite characters just get axed off and stuff like that, it's quintessentially sort of like a Game of Thrones style of feel. It's like, okay, is this person going to do this or that, or is this person going to be dying, any type of stuff? It's that one more case, that one more like a day aspect and stuff to where you want to get, you know, to experience the story firsthand to see what in the hell is actually going on. That makes this game a lot more interesting than most like visual novel games. I'd say like the entire series of Danganronpa is just fairly entertaining
Hmm.
in regards to not only their styles and stuff. I mean, yes, they're very heavily anime like sort of centric stuff, but at the same time, the stories are pretty much worth diving into if you love visual novels. So that's my number 13.
Nice. Very cool, Gables. Moving on to my number 12 here. It is a franchise that I didn't think I would get back into, like, or especially like get into it all in a video game sense, where it's like we've seen so many times these kind of franchises or these kind of games like come in and just absolutely fail, or they put him out for the wrong reasons, is a game called Spider-Man from
Hmm.
2018. Um, it's Spider-Man, really cool character. Probably one of the biggest franchises in the world, as far as like like it puts a movie out, it's gonna do well, or a game, there's gonna be some buzz around it or whatever. And it's just like we've seen countless Spider-Man games come and go, and we praise Spider-Man 2 for like, oh, it's a really good game on the GameCube, but it's on PlayStation 2 era, but it's just like it's an okay game, which is a really good movie-based game. It's a really good Spider-Man game, but it's not a good game by any stretch of imagination. And this came out, and it's just like it's a fantastic game. It's a wonderful game. Um, where it's like you actually you delve into like it's cool because it's not an origin story. It's like he's been doing this for 5-6 years now, and it's just like you don't have to deal with like the whole back. It's like you don't deal with like him becomes Spider-Man all over again. Like you do like a quick like boom here on Spider-Man. I've been doing this for a while. Here's why. Here's how it happened. You already know the story, and boom, here you go now. And like learning like kind of like he's in his mid 20s. He's been doing it for a while, and it's like learning like the cool stuff that's been going on with like him and like the people he's faced since then. Also dealing with like um, him and like Mary Jane, like why they didn't work out, and uh, him dealing with like that kind of love where like he's still very much in love with this woman, but like him being Spider-Man is like the issue of like why this love didn't work. And you got Miles in there like dealing with like his pain and his suffering and what's going on with him. And then like like just it's cool because it's not just a Spider-Man game. It's a Peter Parker. It's just as much a Peter Parker game as a Spider-Man game, where it's like you're not just it's like where like most Spider-Man games you're just Spider-Man, and this like you're dealing with like the real life ramifications of him being Spider-Man, where it's like
Hmm.
he doesn't have very good relationships. Like he's Spider-Man, but he still can't pay rent, kind of like stuff like that. And, like he's working with Doc Ock, and like just like um, like all these stories of like him like all these bad guys he's put away, and then like uh, just everything like just the story in general is just great. It's a really good story, and then like the gameplay on top of it is great too. It's like they did like a really good job of like incorporating like the Batman games we've had, the Gotham games we had, or the Arkham games we
Yes.
had, and like and like turning that gameplay in like and morphing into a Spider-Man game where it's like, and it's not like it's not a knock against it at all. I think it's a smart move. It's like I'd rather them just take that fighting system and put it in Spider-Man than try to create their own and probably not work as well. It's like we have a fighting system that works really really well for these style of games. Just do it, and then also it's all open world where like I'm not even an open world guy all that much. Like I would talk about like in most open world games, like I don't like them as much. Or like we'll see games that like are like I like the franchises I like in general become open world, and I like them less because of that. And it's like this one where it's like it's open world that like yeah, like the some of the side stuff, the side things you can do are kind of hit and miss, but it's like I like the combat's fun to play, and the world is like cool enough, like just like going around like taking photographs of like different things and like or like finding his backpacks and like reading the backstory behind these backpacks and like the things he finds in them and all that. It's just cool. And it's like it's cool because like yeah, we know we've been there, done that with like the beginning of Spider-Man, but it's cool to like you see him in that time frame where he's been doing it for a while, but like go back and like yeah, we know what he's a lot of what he's done, but this to see like but also kind of makes you intrigued like what we've missed kind of thing. Whereas like you go back and you read like like some of the newspaper clippings that you find of like events that have happened with him, like these great fights with like Reptile or Scorpion or things like that, and like okay, what's going on with the Osborns and all that. It's like it's just it's so cool. It's really 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 well made, and it's like we've seen like kind of the jump it made with Miles, and I can't wait for Spider-Man 2. Um, so yeah, my number 12 is Spider-Man. We gave all those your number 12.
Mario Kart 8.
Oh, okay.
So that is our fourth game in
Yep.
common. So to piggyback off of what you said previously about Mario Kart 8, it's like the game is absolutely fantastic in terms of the replayability, in terms of the course designs. And let me tell you something. Some of my most fun playing games on the Wii U was with Mario Kart 8. I spent over 30 hours not only playing through all the different cups, but I was making it a priority to beat time trials. I was making it a priority to figure out the shortcuts on these tracks so I could go through and get some of the fastest times available. I went through the camp, I went through like the cup stuff, and like various time trials with each character, including Link, the DLC stuff. I mean that was a fantastic sort of space. And then like there was a Sonic the Hedgehog course, there was like a Link course and stuff like that. That you could go and play through and stuff. It was a fantastic experience, nonetheless. I mean, even back then on the Wii U and stuff. I mean, obviously it's better on the Switch in terms of how many people you can play and how you can do things in that regards. But when it came out, it was a big breath of fresh air because everything clicked with it. The roster of the characters, that was fun. The amount of creativity with the new levels that they had designed alongside like the anti-gravity stuff with the carts, that was awesome. The whole retro tracks coming back, including classics like Moo Moo Farm, which I like because it's a 64 classic and I loved playing through that course over and over as a kid. And yeah, even like a bunch of the different characters, like say you want to play as Mario or like Peach Gold Peach or something like that, or even the Koopa Kids, if you really wanted to go through as the Koopa Kids, like Ludwig and like a Lemmy and Iggy and all this other shit. It had it all in terms of priority stuff for the single player aspect and even certain things online racing. It definitely was a high standard. Online could have been done better, in my honest opinion. I mean, Nintendo's been notorious in terms of online gameplay with some of their games, even dating back far back as for the DS. But it's like with this game, it felt like everyone that had owned a Wii U could essentially bought this game out of a out of like a entire console lifetime, like 13 million.
Mm-hmm.
This game was obviously the most popular and sold the most. I think it was like half, if I'm
It
not
was like
mistaken.
it was like a little. I think it was just under or just over 6 million. So yeah, about half.
About half the people that owned the Wii U bought Mario Kart 8. But yeah, that's it for like number 12, because that game was fun. I'd still have inklings to play from time to time, and it was definitely memorable.
Very cool games. Very cool. My number 11 is a game that was just re-released recently on Switch. A game
Hey,
called Super Mario 3D World. Um,
yes.
yeah. So it's funny because it's a game like I like I talked about, like I completely fell off Mario or just Nintendo in general for a very long time, and then just like this came out. I remember like going over to Justin's and playing like with him a little bit, and, like watching him try to beat Champion Road, which to this day he still hasn't done. Mario Faker calls himself a Mario fan.
Mario Faker. Oh, he's gonna be pissed at you.
Whatever, fucking yeah, he's a Mario fan. Can't be Champion Road. Whatever, fake ass motherfucker. Anyway, anyways, um, he will. It's funny. I'm gonna see him tomorrow, but he's gonna have no idea I said this until for a while.
Oh, God.
But anyways, um,
He's gonna
Mario.
dirty text.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a text from like 3 days from now. Like, what the fuck, asshole? Anyways, Mario 3D World. Uh, it's just it's so great. It's just like like as a guy, like I never really loved the 3D Mario games before. Like it wasn't even like a biggest Mario fan in general. Like when it comes to Nintendo before this, it's like really like 3D World, 3D Land before that is what got me. Like I love that on 3DS. I remember getting a 3DS, and it was like the week before Pokemon X came out, and I called Justin. I'm like, what? I'm at GameStop buying a 3DS. I'm like, dude, what should I get? Should I get 3D Land or should I get new Super Mario Bros? He's like, dude, get get 3D Land. You're gonna love it. And like he's right. And he's like, I've loved it. And it's like 3D World is just more of that on the. It's just more of that, but bigger. And it's just so well made. It's just like I haven't beaten a lot of Mario games in my lifetime. It's like I beat Super Mario Brothers once, and like when I was younger, and I was like, I've still been able to do it since. I beat Mario 64 on DS. And it was I didn't love it the way that like a lot of people love it, like to like people love it today and stuff like that. But it's like in moving like with 3D Land, 3D World, and like Odyssey is like that's kind of like the stretch for me where it's like I finally like I'm getting that Mario love that like people have. Like I like the Mario games that aren't the mainline Mario games. It's like the Mario Kart. It's fucking Mario Party. It's or was Mario Party I should say. Mario Golf, Mario Tennis, whatever, blah blah. And
Right.
this one is like I remember playing it. It's just like I love the level design. I love how uh, every level feels like its own thing, and there's some like there's a shadow level. Here's a level where you're just fucking um, there's like these rotating blocks, and you got to jump and you got to land on them. It's just like there's so much more added to it, and it's so much like it's 2D Mario with 3D effects. It's so sounds so simple, and we've seen so many other games do it before that and try to do it since then, and it's like no one can. Like they did it the best. It's like that's why Nintendo is the best at what they do and everything. When they when they do something that they want to do, like that they know they can do, no one can top them. They're the best at it. That's why everybody tries to copy them, and it's like nobody does it as good as them. And it's like Mario 3D World is just is just evidence number one of like why that's the case, and it's so fucking fantastic. I'm enjoying a lot. Yeah, it's so much. It's just like reminding me a lot of that too. Like to be fair, I put this list together over a month ago, like before, uh, uh, 3D World came out again. So this isn't like a recency bias kind of thing.
Right.
Like I made this list, over a month ago. I haven't changed anything around since then. Like I did that on purpose, and it's like that. And this was at number 11 before it came back out, and just it really just kind of cemented the fact that like no, this game is as good as it was when I thought it was when I played it. I didn't play it when it came out. I played it like probably like 2015 or so, and it's just it's top of line. It's fantastic. Number 11, Mario 3D World. Gables, what's your number 11?
All right. So my number 11 is Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
Oh wow, I didn't think this would be on your list at all.
Honestly, it was between that and X and Y, and quite honestly, I kind of enjoyed
You made a
Ultra
mistake.
Sun and Ultra Moon a bit more. And honestly, the reasoning behind that is because of the whole aspect of Sun and Moon, that seventh generation, that was definitely hyped up and stuff. And you know what? I played through Pokemon Sun and Moon. I enjoyed the aspect of it, but I felt that the sequel to it, like a year later, was the definitive version and definitely the better alternative in order to experience that generation. But I loved a lot of the Pokemon, the new designs and everything through that generation. I loved Popplio, Litten, Rowlet, and stuff like that. Plus, I love the Tapus and stuff. But in regards to like collecting all of the different like random Pokemon, man, that was such a fun experience. Just filling out the Pokedex, doing the whole like traditional stuff and like the totem Pokemon and everything else. It was definitely a more fleshed out experience instead of like an X and Y and stuff, because there was a lot more care. There was like a lot more care that was put into like different aspects of not just like the story aspect of it, which kind of honestly it kind of took us by surprise because you expect like the traditional Pokemon stuff, like you have the child going through and tried to be like a Pokemon master and this and that, go to the Elite Four, go to the Champion and stuff. And while that did have that stuff, the way it produced itself in terms of story with having like not one but two like evil teams quintessentially like a ruse, like one evil team being a ruse for like an even bigger one. That one I liked. I like that kind of a twist. Plus, it has like one of my favorite like evil teams and stuff besides Team Rocket, and that's Team Skull with their leader Guzma, which is putting essentially like one of those dudes that tried to be like a trial leader or whatsoever out of this whole retrospect, but he failed to do so because of like all this other stuff. But I loved the structure of the game itself. I loved the aspect that you could just travel through subspace and just could essentially like go through these vortexes in order to go and fight out all these different legendary Pokemon. How you can go through and like face, you can find shiny Pokemon if you go deep enough into certain routes, and like how easier it was for you to not only acquire certain shiny Pokemon but also for like certain training in regards to EV training. I didn't really touch the online stuff like I did in X and Y, but it was definitely a fun experience just getting a lot of fun Pokemon through like the Wonder Trade stuff and also like through just using a bunch of like different creatures and stuff. Especially like a couple of years ago when I was going through all of my Pokemon games, like in all this like this big old binge and stuff from Gen 1 all the way up to Gen 7. And then Ultra Moon was definitely the last one that I went through in that line before finishing it up. And going through that retrospective through Gen 1 all the way through Gen 7 was definitely significant because it represented like how far that I had come playing this series and how important that series is for me as a gamer. And then all of a sudden go through Ultra Moon and just like enjoying a lot of the like the ease of life sort of like improvements to it, how much simpler it can be now with certain aspects which were harder in past generations, and then how fun it was to play. It's definitely worth that number 11.
Nice. Very cool, Gables. Real quick, we'll just run through our honorable mentions here.
Okay.
We each did five, so basically a top 30 list here is what we got. My number 30 is Order 1886. I think this is a very underrated game. I know we're gonna never get another one, but I really enjoyed it for what it was. Number 29, South Park Fractured But Whole. I liked this game a lot, but it was definitely like a case of like I talked about at the time. Like the first Stick of Truth was like your favorite band's greatest hit album, and this was like your favorite band's greatest the second greatest hit album. Like, and that was kind of like it's still really really good, but it's not the best of the best.
Nice.
28 was Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Really liked it. It's just my biggest complaint with it was it wasn't Assassin's Creed. It's just like it's really Odyssey is what it's called. It should be called, not Assassin's Creed Odyssey. 27 Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Fantastic game. Love that game. Love it in 3D world and playing it and just having more of it, and not too much of it, but just more of it was awesome. And then number 26 because I forgot about it existed. No, I forgot it existed, but didn't think of it as a. I thought of it as a Switch game, not a anything else game. Untitled Goose Game. So Gables, what's your honorable mentions?
Okay, so for 30, I pretty much had Splatoon because that entire campaign I thought was awesome in regards to how creative it was, the different missions, the different types of weapons you can use. The online, for what it was very fun. I have made it to the point where I want to play through the second game now on Switch, and I want to play through the whole thing in preparation for Splatoon 3 because I'm excited for Splatoon 3. Then, like for 29, Dead by Daylight, another type of like live service ish sort of game to where I had a lot of fun playing with friends. I definitely spent my time playing as different killers and stuff for like the DLC stuff, the Scream guy being one of them. That was pretty hilarious, crouching down, just like executing, just like killing survivors, this and that. But overall, it was a fun game to play on Steam and also PS4. I look forward to playing the game on PS5 as well when I eventually get that, because that's quintessentially why I stopped playing, is because I wanted to play on the next gen systems. Now, number 28 is Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. I love Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. As a matter of fact, replaying through Super Mario 3D World for the Switch and going through the Captain Toad levels, man, it's like they're every bit as good as they were as I remember them. But number 27, Goat Simulator. Dude, I don't know what it is about me and just random animals and stuff, man, but like Goat Simulator just struck a chord and just how funny and how like bizarre it could be. Like, for example, you could be like butting heads with like some people and just knock them to the ground, and in another instance, you could be bouncing on a gigantic trampoline in the middle of a Death Metal concert and stuff while things are just going crazy and stuff. But number 26, How to Fool Boyfriend.
Oh, nice.
Jesus Christ. This game by Devolver Digital was fun in more ways than one, and it wasn't more or less because of the story and like the absurdity of all these pigeons and you being inside of a pigeon school, but it was just me streaming, just reenacting the voices as I was hearing them in my head. And my God, I had a ball just like going through the different things, like the Rudy Tooty, like, oh, hey, just like all of these like random voices started popping in my head. Like one of the more stubborn, like sort of like stuck up like pigeons, I gave him the voice of Maximilian Pegasus, like, well, I never knew how much I could do this, but I now I don't like that, or it's like one of those plays or one of those stories that you would read and you just try to figure out the person's voice in your head and all of a sudden it just comes out like that and like that's kind of like how I generally do things with ad libbing. But yeah, those are the honorable mentions.
Nice, very cool, Gables. All right, well, moving on back to our list here. We're now into the top 10 for games of generation. My number 10, Gables, Doom 2016. Um,
Yay!
love, adore this game. A game that like I had no expectations for whatsoever when it came out. And I remember like it was a game I was gonna pick up anyways. Or I was like strongly like it's like I was like, oh, I'm gonna pick it up because I love Doom and I was like I was hoping it's good. And then I ended up like
Yeah,
getting it. I won a Twitter contest and I got it for free from Amazon.
nice.
So I ended up getting it that way. And yeah, like ended up playing it. It's just like it was. It's phenomenal. It's so great. And it's just like it led to like I remember like years like 2 years later, 3 years later, we're jumping into like we're so excited to play uh, Eternal, and it's just like we're still like
Mm,
so pumped coming off the high of that game, and it's just like
right.
it totally re-energized first shooters. It totally changed the game. First person shooters. I thought about Wolfenstein 2. I love that game as much as I do because it basically just took the fast-paced action of Doom and incorporated into Wolfenstein. It's just they they just made a modern day Doom game like we never thought was possible. Where like, you especially come off of Doom 3, where it's like it's Doom, but it's scary. And it's like, no, this sucks. We want to play Doom. We want Doom. Doom is Doom. You know, it's just like, all right. It's like we haven't seen anybody really do it the way that they do it since then. You know, it's like no one does it as fast as them. No one does it as crazy as them. No one's fucking like everything. The world building, the characters, the enemies, the story, the music, everything ties so well together in this game. Where it's not like it's all. Gables is smiling. I have a feeling number 10 is also doomed for him. Uh, and
Oh no, no, it's not that. It was just something else. But carry on.
Okay, sorry. You made the same look. When I said number 25 was at the same game. Anyways, but it's just like everything just encapsulate to make Doom, and it's like the best game of that version. It's not like we're not just doing
Yes.
shit for the sake of doing shit. We're like yeah, the multiplayer sucked, but it's like whatever. It's just like no one gives a fuck about that. We played the campaign, and it's so fucking awesome. It's so badass. So like yeah, like the biggest issue with that game was like the last third of it, but it's still the gameplay is king of that game, and it's incredible. That's my number 10. Gables, what's your number 10?
Okay. I had to get my composure a bit, because
What was so
uh,
funny? I don't understand.
no, as you were talking, I'm like, all of a sudden all of a sudden I hear my mom out there and she rips a goddamn fart. It sounds like a goddamn girl. It's like, what the?
I'm like, did I just say something stupid? I was wondering. Oh, that's funny.
I was like, what the fuck?
Gables
It could
blaming
be
his
dead silent, and all of a sudden you can just hear someone in the next room making gorilla biscuits. Jesus.
gorilla biscuits.
Anyway,
What?
oh, I'm sorry. That's just a term I'd say. Anyway, number 10. Okay. Number 10.
It
All
is
right.
too late. It is almost 2 in the morning for you to
I
pull
know.
out a phrase, gorilla biscuits.
And then you're going to be thinking that shit. Like, what the fuck does it
I
mean?
was
It's like, number 10 is Celeste.
very nice, Gables.
Dude, this game, when I initially had the chance to play it, got the initial chance to experience its tone and like a lot of the other types of ease in use and stuff. I started to really fall in love with this game because it's such a awesome
Hmm.
experience. It's definitely like one of those type of platformers where it's simplistic in nature, but yet it casually just encourages you to get better. And it's like, hey, don't worry about that. Go ahead and try again and do it this way and that way. And so what progressively starts off as, a little bit more daunting starts becoming a little bit more encouraging, and then all of a sudden it's like you start dying a couple different times. It encourages you some more, and so you start trying a bit more, and you get better as a result. And as you're going through experience in the game, you experience the story as well, which is like it's like a girl that deals with a lot of anxiety and a lot of inner turmoil and stuff with herself has to face
Madeline.
off against, yeah, Madeline has to face off against herself too, as well as crippling, along with dealing with crippling anxiety and stuff. And a lot of this game is quintessentially her going through these battles and then realizing to accept herself for who she is and then go through and learn from her mistakes in order to evolve to like the highest peak. So it's like she has to travel on this mountain to get to the highest range of this mountain. And by doing that, she has to confront herself, her inner demons, and try to get everything else all out of the way, a little progressive steps at a time. But she comes to realize she can't do it alone. She has, so, you know what, you can't do everything on your own. And so you have to rely upon your friends and also the people around you in order to support yourself, to encourage you in order to get to this higher frame. And I felt the story and I felt a lot of what it was went to accomplish and stuff hit the mark exactly. And this game came in a time in my life where I felt very low. But at the same time, this is one of those motivating type of games that help go through and see things in a different point of view, a different light, in order to encourage you to get better and also encourages you to like honestly play to a specific extent and stuff like that to where you can easily overcome adversity and keep on battling by moving forward and not really like dwelling upon the past. Sometimes you got to look in yourself and you got to work on issues and you have to get things going on to the right step.
Very,
So at number 10 is Celeste.
very cool. My number 9, Celeste.
Oh
Uh,
God, here we go.
you mean you encapsulated it better than I could. Yeah, you're right. It's just like it definitely. It's just like yeah, Madeline just trying to, Madeline, trying to get up to the Celeste Mountain and just like yeah, she's like doing this to like prove to herself she can do this and like not give up. And it's just like you said, like yeah, like she can't do this on her own. And like yeah, like there's a whole chapter of her like she's literally facing herself.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like this, it's such a brilliant, well-made game, but it's like also the fact that like the story is, I feel like can it's a very it's not like a very it's a deep story, but it's not like it doesn't need 20 hours of cutscenes. It doesn't need all this. It's just some text blocks, and it's just like it's the music in this game is so great. Where it's like there's times where like like my anxiety gets the best of me. It's like I put this soundtrack on and it helps, and it's like it really does. It's like I'll it is like my go-to thing where like there's days where like you had a bad day at work or like I'm having a bad day at work currently, like at that current moment it's just like or like I get home from work and I'm just sitting there and it's just like I just pop that fucking soundtrack on. It's just like it like it helps, and it's like it really does. It's like that's a personal thing for me, but like I wouldn't be surprised if that's for a lot of people. It's just like I feel like this game probably touches a lot of people like on a maybe not like that exact obviously that's exact same scenario, but like there's probably a lot of people that like feel that way, and it's like they do a good job of like encapsulating like this story of anxiety into like a mountain, like this that mountain is like you battling your anxiety, and just like some people just can't get out of bed some days, and like some climbing that mountain is the equivalent of like getting out of bed or going outside or going to the store or just doing anything in general. And it's just like they do such a great fucking job of that. And I yeah, it's phenomenal. It's just like it's such a hard topic to like touch upon where like you do it in a bad way, you do it in a cheesy way. It's just like oh, it's just a fucking corny like thing they're trying to do to like it's anxiety so people will buy it, or it's like they do it and like they don't hit it just right, and it's just like you took a big swing and you failed, and it's like no, they fucking going back to a baseball term, they hit a fucking grand slam on this one, and it's yeah, everything that um, I think it's Matt Makes Games or whatever his name of the studio, whatever
Yes.
he does next. He also what was the he made that one weird oh fuck, it was like a Ouya game. It came to PS Plus.
Powerful Ascension.
Towerfall, yeah. He made that too. So it's just a weird. It's a big change for him. But yeah, that's my number 9. Gables is Celeste. What's your number 9?
My number 9 is for Persona 4 Dancing All Night. Now, this is definitely the pinnacle of one of the best music based games that I had played during the the last generation, and that is because not only is it blend one of my favorite soundtracks of the entire series of Persona and Persona 4, but it also incorporates a story that complements after the events of the game itself. On top of that, it also like has a whole bunch of different types of themes, a whole different types of like self motivation, self improvement type of stuff with the specific characters, and in terms of like the whole conflict in of itself with like some of the characters that are inside of the story, like say with Kanamine and stuff. She has to kind of go ahead and overcome a lot of like the anxieties, adversities in that regards. But you have the crew of Persona 4 there, obviously to help as like say backup dancers and this and that. But it's like with the other Persona game, this Persona dancing games, to where the music is so goddamn enjoyable and so replayable that it actually puts it on like a chunk higher than that of the other games. And honestly, I did like the story aspect, even though there were times playing it on my Vita and even on my PS4 where it's like, yeah, I can understand there's a little bit of fluff here and there, but at the same time, it wasn't boring at all. It was fun all the way through, and I got to share even more time being with like some of the characters I did like from Persona 4, and so a lot of those character like expedition, like expositions and stuff like that, alongside of what I had to go through and experience with like each of these dance, like these pop stars and stuff, what they're going through, and a lot of this other stuff with the Midnight Channel. Well, this Midnight Channel shit from Persona 4, man, yeah, definitely a fantastic game.
Nice.
So that's it.
Very cool, Gables. Moving on here to number 8. Number 8 is Hyperlight Drifter. Um,
Mm.
you know, we just talked about not too long ago with like Solar Ash and everything, but it's like um, a game that like I've talked about before. Like I didn't even know this game existed, and it was just uh, a trailer for it popped up on the PlayStation YouTube account, and I ended up just checked out the trailer, and I was like, I went from like not knowing this game existed, and it was like a Saturday, and this like, oh, this game's coming out Tuesday, and it's like I can't wait to play this game kind of thing, and just checking it out, and it's like it's so weird because it's not a game that like would normally speak to me like as far as like it's a very difficult game. It's kind of got uh kind of like get good mentality of like and also like it's a lot of dashing. It's you're gonna die a fuck ton. It's not souls like where like you lose souls and you have to go back and get them, but it's just like it's very like it's forgiving in the sense where like you die, you're not gonna lose an hour progress, but you're gonna lose some progress, and you're gonna like it's more about just getting good and getting better, and like these boss fights especially where like you're gonna die a lot in these boss fights. But it's like I said, I was talking about in our last episode we did, where it's Link to the Past, but in a modern day set, like a modern day gaming, where it's like it's all about like you have a gun, but you also have your sword you use, but it's just like about dashing correctly and like getting like it's incredible how like good people get at the dash, where like people can dash. There's like a trophy for like dashing like 100 times in a row, like you gotta hit it in like a rhythm. It's like I'm struggling to do like 5, and it's like just how great people can get at this game, but it's like yeah, it's a combination of like the the art style, which I love, the music, which is phenomenal, and the gameplay, which is top notch to me. Where it's like also like the story in the world is kind of confusing in a way, but it's like I was so fascinated by this that like I like in the middle of playing this, I watched like IGN or somebody did like a mini documentary about and went and interviewed him and talked to him and stuff like that. And he's like the main guy from this game. I can't remember his Alex Preston, I want to say.
I think.
Sounds right. He's the main guy from the game. He does like the art. He was an artist before this, and he did the art. And he's the main guy from this game. He runs. He's the main guy from Art Machine. And the name of the studio and the kind of the story behind the game is about him. And like he actually was born with like a heart disease, and he's like in and out of the hospital a lot. And like even like recently, he was just in the hospital. Like he posted like on Twitter of like him with like the what's that called, like the thing with like the IV on it. He was like walking around with the IV in his house, like
Oh,
he's had a
wow.
stint in the hospital. Like he's always, and he has a dog that has like a heart issue as well. And it's just like it's a game about like this character that's like coughing up blood and like you don't really know what's wrong with him, but he's injured, he's dealing with something. But he's like the game was kind of built and based around him in a way where like this character is dealing with like um a disease that's like slowly killing him, and he's just like, I don't really know, like this the story in the world, like you really learn like the story's not told to you. It's more about like you go through this world, you just kind of explore this world, and like you kind of piece things together yourself in a way, but it's still very like it's not told to you. It's just like, oh, okay, something happened here, and it's like, but I don't know, it's very fascinating. It's like I don't even know if like um I don't know if he's ever fully explained what that story is either, but yeah, it's so well done. It's like it's another one of those games where like I can just pop on the fucking soundtrack and play again. Like I bought it 3 times. I have the physical edition on PS4. I have the digital edition on Switch and PS4 as well. And they just announced the Switch, like a limited run version that's coming to Switch. That comes with a bunch of other cool shit that's on Best Buy right now. And I am so badly trying not to buy for the 4th time. But yeah, Hyperlight Drifter is my number 8 game of the generation. Gables, what's your number 8?
All right, so my number 8 game is Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire.
Oh wow, okay.
So in my mind, I had to decide which which Pokemon games I wanted to go through and like rank them. Obviously, it's like I had X and Y, and then you had like Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, then this game, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. And the reason why it's so high up over those other Pokemon games is because of how much enjoyment I got out of experiencing the Hoenn region again, remastered with a bunch of like ease of life improvements over the original games, but at the same time, there were a lot of fun elements that were added in. Not only did we get like new Mega Evolutions to like classic Pokemon, so like Blaziken, Sceptile, and like Swampert and stuff, but we got like new types. We basically got like new Pokemon, like trainers, new different types of like mini games. It's like a surfing mini game that you go through and like transfer from one island to the other. There were definitely more incentives for you to complete the Pokedex, which I did complete Pokemon Omega Ruby's Pokedex. I spent like over 200 hours playing that game. These remakes were fantastic, and honestly, they're just under like the quality of remakes like they were for Heart Gold and Soul Silver. It was almost to that level, in my honest opinion. Only like some caveats here and there, but at the same time, it was fairly enjoyable. The graphics looked fine. Obviously, using like the classic teams like I did and stuff, it just made the experience more worthwhile. But yeah, Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, I feel, are the best Pokemon games from the past generation. And quite honestly, if any of you guys that are even looking into getting the 3DS or own a 3DS, but you want to know what Pokemon games to actually invest in first, do yourself a favor, get yourself Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Definitely great experiences.
Very cool. Moving on to my number 7 here. Final Fantasy 7 Remake. My number 2 game from 2020. I talked about just once again just on the last podcast we did. But it's a game that came out. I had for years. I mean, after I announced it, I'm like, I don't care at all, and it's just like I don't know what it was, but it's just like I think it was just kind of like we were in that kind of a dead space there, and it was like also the beginning of the stay at home and lockdown and everything like that. And it's just like I need a game to play, and I popped. I've been buying this the day it came out, and it's just like sat down and like after a couple it was a couple hours. I'm like, all right, I'm not feeling it, but it's just like I don't know, a little bit. It was like I was in. I was totally like all in with like Cloud and Barrett and Tifa and Aerith and
Yeah,
Jesse and Wedge, and I was just like I fucking adore this goddamn fucking world and these characters. It's like I know it's like I don't have any backstory, don't give a fuck at all about the original Final Fantasy 7. I don't want to know anything about it. I don't want to have anything because I know they're changing, like they're making their own. It's a remake in a lot of ways where it's like it's a remake of the original game, but also they're changing a lot of the story and tying in some of the stuff that came from the movies and the side games into this one. But it's just like I don't want to play anything. I don't want to know anything else that I already know. I want to be fresh going into this. I don't want like a different story in my head. But it's just like it's just the music is phenomenal. The gameplay is wonderful, and it's just like as someone that doesn't play JRPGs anymore, doesn't give a fuck about them. It's like someone that like growing up, JRPGs was like my jam. That was the thing I played. It was
Mm.
Madden, it was basically sports games and JRPGs. That's where I played. Uh, in Donkey Konga. That was it. And now it's like as I've gotten older, I've become an adult. It's like I've fallen off of that very hard. I also have like sometimes nostalgia trips. Like it's getting this and like for a month, this was like I put over 40 hours of just me playing this, doing all the side content and everything, even like the stuff with like the cross dressing stuff. It's like it's so weird and out there, and like with the cloud getting a hand massage and like wearing a dress, doing the stupid dance thing. And it's like it's so fucking well done. It's like it's so great, and it's just like I hope to God that they don't fuck this up because it's so easy for and like I so expect Square Enix to fuck this up because that's just I mean Square Enix can't do anything. They're so fucking weird about just case in point, Kingdom Hearts, uh, Phil Jackson's triangle offense. Like they're just so fucking weird about what they do about things. It's like it's so easy for them to like the bungle this whole thing. And I just yeah, it's so great. I love it so fucking much. It's number 7 for me, obviously for a reason. But yeah, I can't wait for the PS5 upgrade to come out in June, so I can play it again and also play the DLC that's coming out for it, Integrate. But yeah, my number 7, Final Fantasy 7 remake. Gables, what's your number 7?
Doom from 2016.
Oh, look at that! Look at us go! All right, I think
Dude,
we're is that 5 now we have in common.
I think
I'll count. Go ahead and talk. I'm sorry.
with Doom, it represented a time that I never thought I'd actually experience, and that was me playing through and having a game of Doom click. Because up until that point, I'd seen various gameplay of classic Doom and stuff, the original one on the PC, plus on other types of platforms and stuff. People really enjoy like Doom 1, Doom 2 especially, but I never really got like why people like this game up until I decided to play Doom 2016, and this was one of the contenders of Game of the Year during that year when it released for me, because the power trip, the whole overall pacing, the fast gameplay, everything else makes you feel like a badass. You're gunning through demon after demon. You're taking out all of these hell spawns and stuff in order to take out like quintessentially one of the recurring final bosses in the series, which is like the Spider Mastermind. This damn gigantic fucking like brain with like there's all this freaking like these metal legs and all those other shit. It's like it's mindless fun. You There is a underlying story with a lot of interesting elements that is hidden away that if you actually like forget about or some or don't even pay attention to, you would be missing out on something else entirely. Because some of the story elements inside Doom 2016 is interesting, in my honest opinion. But the fast-paced gameplay, the fact that you could do all these various trials and test your skills in that regards, I did. I played the entire game on like an easier setting because honestly, as much as I like first-person shooters, I have to be eased into getting better at these games because even though now I feel a lot more comfortable in terms of playing first-person shooters, be it Destiny or be it something else, during that time, it's like I wanted to enjoy the game for what it was worth, and it was worth every fucking penny. But man, the leveling up things for items, for your armor, for this and that, the fact that you can go through and just do like collect all these different animals from the BFG that you get to use maybe like once or twice throughout the entire playthrough, the awesome experiences of that on top of just laying waste to like the final boss and getting all that shit done. This, in my honest opinion, is the best first person shooter to come out in the last generation. because of how awesome I felt just playing through this game, how it makes you feel good, how it rewards you with trial and patience and stuff like that if you stick with it. And also in terms of challenge, if you really want to go through and just go out guns blazing and stuff like that, crack it up to like one of the highest difficulties, and then just have at it there. There's a lot of hidden secrets, a lot of hidden collectibles and stuff. Through like little Doom figures that you can collect
Mm-hmm.
here and there. To like finding
Fist bumps one
like
of them.
hidden, yeah, yeah, and even like finding the hidden levels of like the classic Doom hidden inside there. There's so much love and attention Bethesda paid in order to satisfy fans of the franchise. And quite honestly, it is number 7 because it is one of the best games to play, period, on last generation hardware. Either PC, either PS4, Xbox One, or even Nintendo Switch. I played the game through twice on PS4 and on Switch.
Wow. Okay.
Both were quality experiences. Very few times, if I ever play a game, I want to play it on another platform, and this is one of the few. So, yep.
Very nice. Very cool. My number 6, Gables, Uncharted 4.
Hey,
Yeah. Wow. What a game. It's like I really enjoyed the Uncharted games, the first three, back in the day. Um, they were top notch game of generation style games. And it's like I feel like each one built on top of each other. It got better and better and better. And it's like 4 is just like I feel like that's when like really like Naughty Dog became like they made good games, but it's like I felt like the storytelling is like I mean, really Last of Us, I guess people came out before that, but it's like you can kind of see like I always like that's when I felt like they built their games built upon each other, where like they would take things from the previous game and do things to build upon it. And you see that with like Uncharted 4, with, like the rope, and then Last of Us Part 2 had the rope,
right.
things like that. And it's just like we seen with like Uncharted 4, it's just like with Nathan, like this is like it's called a Thief's End. Like I felt like for the first time, like this entire game I'm playing through it, I'm like I felt like Nathan could die at any point in time. It's just like all right, I felt like it was just like one of those games where like you really felt like anything can happen. It's like yeah, but it's like anything can happen, but also like the fact that like you give a fuck about Chloe and you give a fuck about Nathan and his brother and like like you actually like care. It's like it's so cool like his brother jump back come back and like him like telling these uh, tales of like things you've done in the past with Nathan, with Uncharted 1 through 3, and then slowly coming back and like the beginning of like the heist and with him at the party and like playing Crash Bandicoot on the couch or walking through the attic and like taking a stroll down memory lane of like looking at statues and things you've taken from your previous adventures and you know him just trying to be a normal guy and then like his brother sucks him in for one last job and just dealing with that whole story of like him and his brother and like as you learn the backstory and everything it's like it, it's top notch. It's like Naughty Dog to me is like they're the best of the best when it comes to like set pieces and it's not Call of Duty. It's like it's Call of Duty, like yeah, it's like whatever set people. It's but it's like they do a good job. Like it's kind of like it's not like over the top like like a whole city's falling kind of thing. It's like this one actually kind of makes sense. It's not like Uncharted 2 where like it's a Scooby Doo ending or it's like a like the Uncharted 1 where like when the ending where like it's like a quick time event type of thing or whatever. Like it's like actually like they did a good job of like this whole process where it's like it felt like everything came together for Uncharted 4 for them. Like they got better over time. They understood this character more. They knew the story they wanted to tell, and it's like I miss Nathan Drake as a character. I miss those characters so much, but it's like I would love to have a new Uncharted game, but it's like I don't know if like they ended so well, so perfectly. It's like I don't know if I ever want another, even a prequel. I don't know if I ever want anything to ever like try to touch that and try to mess up. I think what might be the perfect way for like this franchise to end. What about you, Gables? What's your number 6?
My number 6 is Super Mario 3D World.
All right, very cool. We are now up to 6 games in common.
Let me tell you something, man. It's like 3D World, even after playing and reminding myself of this game, getting it for the Switch, and then playing a little bit in that regards, it reminded me how much time I spent and how much enjoyment I got out of playing the game initially when I was on the Wii U. It's one of the few Mario games I can remember in a quite a long while where even after going through and completing certain aspects of the main game, there were a lot more challenging courses that could be tackled, and there was a lot more thing you could do even after the main game. And I credit this game being one of the more challenging Mario games I had played up until that point, and not so more or less in the main game, because the main game you can't blaze through in a band in like a span of like maybe 3 to 5 hours, give or take, give how good you are playing platformers. But to go through and collect everything, going through and like getting all the stamps, going through and getting all the Captain Toad levels all done, and even going through and try to get the most difficult level missions on that world you unlock after beating the main game. It's like that was worth it. That was all rewarding. I was so close in beating that last world in that regards before my Wii U freaking system thing corrupted, and I didn't
Mm.
really have the heart to go through and do all that stuff again up until recently. But at this point in time, this game is so high on the list because of how much quality is built inside of this game. It was definitely there definitely was a reason why Super Mario 3D World was considered at one point, in my honest opinion, one of the best games on the Wii U period. But it has the foundation that made 3D Land such a great game, on top of elaborating like courses, a lot of like combinable, no, a lot of like evolving courses and stuff, a lot of good gimmicks that were introduced, like the Captain Toad levels and this and that. But it had fabulous level design, had great co-op in terms of like seamless dropping in, dropping out and stuff. It was a bummer it didn't have online multiplayer in that regards for you to do co-op, but at the same time, the amount of fun you'd have just completing a lot of these different worlds and then like just feeling good and stuff like that. Man, that was definitely such memorable moments to experience playing games that last generation. So yeah, that's number six.
Very nice, Gills. Well, moving on to my number five here. It was my 2015 game of the year, Metal Gear Solid 5. And it was I was kind of all over the map with this one, where it's like, um, it's still one of my favorite games of all time. Uh, but it's just like it's still a phenomenal game. Like even if it was just called Fan of Pain, I think it'd be a phenomenal game. But it's like it almost kind of hurts being Metal Gear Solid 5 more than it helps. I think where it's like it's Hideo Kojima's masterpiece to me. Like this was what Metal Gear was like supposed to be. And it's just like it's such a shame where it's like my favorite franchise of all time was like this is the end of it. This is filling in the gap, the last gap we have between 3 and Metal Gear on NES. You know, and Metal Gear Solid 3 on PS2 and Xbox. You know, where it's like we're filling in that gap there. What happened with Naked Snake, Venom Snake, uh, Phantom Snake, Big Boss, whatever you want to call him. You know, it's just like it's such a shame that like Chapter 2 was just like mostly like the same missions from Chapter 1, but like hard version, and then Chapter 3 had to get cut to put the game out, and like they got what's his name to be the voice actor, but it sounded like they had him for an hour and one take to get everything done. Um,
Oh, God.
it's like I still, but it's like all that said, I still love this game, and definitely a good chunk of it is the fanboy in me, where it's like Metal Gear is my favorite franchise of all time. It's like it always will be. Hideo Kojima is a favorite game creator of all time, as much as I dislike Death Stranding. Um, but yeah, it's just like I love it's all the shit I love about Hideo Kojima, where it's like his name is in everything, written by, produced by, directed by. Every time we start a mission up, it's like Hideo Kojima's name's everywhere. And then just the outlandishness, like you have D Dog who has an eye patch for no like what? Well, okay. Uh, you got oh god, what's her? You got the girl that like she breathes through her skin, even though it's like creepy and uncomfortable. But it's just like she breathes through her skin. That's why she wears a bikini. Um, and
Quiet.
yeah, quiet. Thank you. Uh, but it's just like it was knocking out an enemy or shooting with a tranquilizer, and then fucking having him like ballooning them off the fucking mother base is never gets old. Him screaming or like doing the same thing to an animal or a fucking a car or a tank. It's just like it's never got old. It's just like a meh, and like a fucking goat fucking going up the fucking sky. It just never got old. It's like and you're scoping out. It's like that guy's got an S rank as a fucking mechanic. Okay. That bitch is mine. It's like I'm gonna plan the next hour how I'm gonna get this fucker. But it's just yeah, it's and like the boss is really cool, really well done. I think the final fight at the end of chapter 1 is really like the peak of that game to me. But it's just like even like the dumb shit. It was like the disease going around spreading and trying to figure out what's causing this disease to spread and everything. It's just like it, it's got all the things you want in a Hideo Kojima game. It just doesn't have that satisfying ending that we wanted in the Metal Gear Solid franchise, in the Metal Gear franchise. And it's like I still hold out hope to this day that we'll get that, but it's a very slim hope. It gets a little lesser every day. But yeah, my number 5 is Metal Gear Solid 5. Gibbles, what's your number 5?
Dragon Ball Fighters.
Wow. Okay.
Let me tell you something, man. It's like when it comes to fighting games, I love me a good fighting game. And we had a lot of fantastic ones this past generation. Street Fighter V, even though it started off terrible in terms of its launch and stuff, reorganized itself through Capcom's trial and errors and stuff with subsequent like expansion sort of things to get actual arcade mode stuff going through, lots of different characters and stuff to where it was comparable. Then you have Tekken 7. That's a fantastic game experience. A lot of good characters, a lot of good like things. Even like Soul Calibur 6, that was fantastic in my honest opinion. The single player thing kind of lacked in some retrospects and stuff, but yeah, there was still a lot of great characters you could play and experiment for. But I feel that Dragon Ball Fighters outdoes all of them. And that's because there are two elements that I like. Obviously the Dragon Ball franchise, but another it's takes a Arc System Works borrowed a mechanic, like borrowed a system quintessentially that was more reminiscent of a classic game that I loved playing to death back in the day, and that was Marvel vs. Capcom 2. The 3v3 fighter, doing all these random combos, doing all these crazy ass like character combinations, stuff like that to make your team like quintessentially what you wanted to make. And that is quintessentially Dragon Ball Fighters. You use a lot of the different characters from the Dragon Ball franchise. You have Goku, you have Vegeta, Piccolo, whoever you want to use. Even if you want to do something obscure, like say Super Baby 2, which that was one of the newer characters that released this past on the season pass shit and stuff. But you can have all these different characters do all these different combinations. Honestly, the online is super competitive. People are really good in regards to combining what different characters do, what combos and stuff. It's a lot more competitive on the PC scene now because of how much the connectivity in the Jeep, like, and all this other like stuff is fine tuned in that regards compared to the PS4 version. But at the same time, it's like the online's comparable, really decent in my honest opinion. But the single player is fine. I liked playing through that initial single player. Part of the reason why I feel like it's one of the best Dragon Ball games is because it goes in depth, like certain situations and stuff that you wouldn't see, like really inside of like mainline things in the show, but more or less like some like a what if sort of scenario and this and that. But I like the new characters, like Android 21. Like her, she's a fun character. She's also a great fighter to play as and stuff because she does all these combinations. She turns her opponents into candy or like the cookies or those and just eats them and stuff like that. That's always so fun. It's like crazy, bizarre sort of shit. But you have all these like outlandish characters that you can play as and stuff and team up. And they do all these random like crazy ass attacks. Let's say like with Piccolo when it's like a super beam, like a special beam cannon and stuff like that. You can combo it into like some sort of like air assault things or whatever the hell. It's just the amount of options that I had at my disposal on top of me wanting to get better at the game, streaming myself playing this game for like at least the past couple of years and stuff, on and off, and then facing off against these people online that's like crazy good. But I obviously I'm a glutton for punishment. I go through it anyway because I wanted to try to go through and get like at least some bit of enjoyment out of the online stuff. But yeah, Dragon Ball Fighters I feel like is the best fighting game over this past generation, and so that's why it's at number 5.
Nice. Very cool, Gables. Well, we are getting to the we see the light now on
Yeah.
this. We are now into the final four. Uh, moving on to my number 4 here, Horizon Zero Dawn, my game of the year for 2016,
Mm.
um, or 2017 rather. I'm sorry. Uh, this game that like coming out, like I remember it came out the same week as Breath of the Wild and the Switch launch. Um, just like actually like 3 or 4 days before that, and I remember just going in like not really. I didn't really know what to expect out of this one. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna check this out because it looks or like checking out like I was intrigued by like the idea of like we've seen all these games that like go like futuristic flying cars, or we see like games that take place in the olden days with like witches and like Witcher style games or like Dragon Age style games. It's like, but I never see like this one where like all right, like we're way in the future, we're 1,000 years in the future, something happened, we don't know what it is, uh but it's not just like it's super futuristic. It's like no, everything just went to shit, and it's like the nature's taken over again. But there's also like these dinosaur robots that are like roaming the earth, and it's just like these got these different villages and stuff like that. And it's like uh, you know yeah, I really enjoy the gameplay, and it's just like every fight like you seem like not every fight, but like you fight some of these like you'll see these enemies like there's like I think one's called like the lockjaw or something like that, and it's you see these like the ones that fly, and it's just like you get to these like fights and you find some of these robots, and it's like you've killed them 20 times, but like every single fight feels like a big fight situation where it's like you gotta be smart, you gotta dodge, you gotta you gotta dash, you gotta dive, you gotta fucking. It's like the 5Ds of dodgeball: dodge, dip, duck, dive, and dodge to get the
Mm.
fuck out of the way of some of these attacks and not get killed. And it really it's just that, and it's just like you got a bow and you got a fucking spear, and good luck. And but it's so well made. The combat's so well made. It's not once again an open world game that like it's funny because like open world games for the most part don't click with me, but there's a few on my list here that I've talked about, and it's like this is one of them where it's like I was so intrigued by like the back. It's another thing where like the backstory intrigued me so much where I was reading everything I could find about what the what happened long ago, or what's going on currently, or like what's so important about Aloy and the situation. And yeah, it's just loved the whole moment, loved the world, and like you're going through a city that's been like the trees have taken over, grass has taken over, nature's taken over, and it's just like you're wandering through these environments, but it's like it's so well made. The story isn't it's not top notch, but I think at the very least the main characters of the game are interesting, and they set it up so well
Mm.
for a sequel. And it's like the story I thought the reasoning I thought they would give for why um things went to shit was the reason why in the end. But I'm so happy they didn't like swerve us just for the sake of like a swerve, where it's like, all right, well, you guys think this is gonna happen, so we're gonna do this because you guys think the logical decision. It's too logical. We got Zag for no reason. It's like they didn't do that. And you see so many times in like movies or TV shows or video games or whatever, like any sort of media where like we're just gonna do a twist for the sake of a twist, and it makes no sense when you think about it. And it's like they stuck to it, and it still was impactful and still well done. Like when you get to that moment, it's like, oh wow, okay. It's like I knew it was coming, but I'm still stunned by this moment. But my number 4, Gables, is Horizon Zero Dawn. What's your number 4, Gables?
My number 4 is Uncharted 4: A Thief's End.
Oh, look at it. I think we're at
To be
7 now. Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
that's 7. But yeah, this is definitely my game of the year from what was it,
2016.
2016?
Yep.
Yes, and that's for good reason too, because this is a fantastic ending to a series that, honestly, in my honest opinion, should not be touched upon any further because of how well it set itself up to not only tie up a lot of the loose ends in regards to the trilogy of the Uncharted games, but honestly, it gives good closure to Nathan Drake and Elena and stuff, and also their child as well. but a lot of the fun elements, a lot of the struggles with Nathan Drake in regards to whether or not he should keep on continuing on or actually go through and like maybe he should just go ahead and hang up, like a lot of what his adventuring and stuff in order to settle like this family and this and that, and then he wants to satisfy this last thing with one of his ancestors in regards to like another member of the Drake family from like long ago and stuff, and try to get that old stuff tied up. But on top of that, he's got to face like one of his former friends and stuff like that as rival, and you're basically in a battle between like trying to find this treasure and against like your former friend and stuff, and like all that leading up to all these cinematic moments, like on a boat through a mansion where you have to infiltrate shit, and then all of a sudden that final initial battle between you and your former friend with just fisticuffs, all this fire going around. You have to try to counter all this shit and stuff. It was a fantastic adventure from beginning to end. It definitely had a lot of fun times that there was a lot of beautiful moments. Obviously, Naughty Dog spared no expense to make sure this game looked like a quality game, but also like all this like subsidiary things you could do like off the beaten path. That was great, but it also had a story that honestly made sense to me, and it was a lot more cohesive in terms of what the motivation was, what exactly like you could do in regards as Nathan Drake in order to get to the next plausible solution and stuff. There wasn't any added fluff. There really wasn't any type of like added crap or something that really deterred the overall
Mm-hmm.
quality of the story experience. But story, gameplay definitely was fantastic in my honest opinion, and that was part of the reason why it was my number one game from back then, and why it's number four now in the games of like the generation.
Oh, very cool, Gable. So, your number one game from 2016 was your number four. My number one game for 2016 is my number three. It's a game called Last Guardian. Uh,
Nice.
it's a game. I mean, a big part of the reason why it's on my list is like not only was it to me a fantastic game. I'm a sucker for a dog, um, and also a dog that can fly. Apparently, in Trico. If you're watching this, I have a. I guess it's cut off, but I have like a Trico statue. I bought the collector edition for that. I spent the like $150 for it. I have the book up there, the art book up there. It's like that's my next tattoo eventually is get a Trico tattoo. Like I am so fucking obsessed with this goddamn bird dog thing. And I just it's 9 years of waiting for this game from the first time we saw it, and just like I being this was like it was announced in 2007, and it's like okay, this game looks really really good. And I'm like I can't wait. Never playing Shadow of the Colossus, never playing Ico, and or Eco, and just like I totally want to play this game. Can't wait to play this game. And then like years go by of nothing, and then just like I remember when they brought it back in like 2014, they brought it in the E3, and I was just like tears. I'm just like I can't believe I just thought it was dead, and to bring it back, got delayed like twice in that last year, um, and to come out and it's just like not only be like good but really really good. I thought like in just like a story that's really really well told, and it's like it's not like an in your face story. It's just like understanding like they tell you some stuff like they don't like they don't talk, but they show you, but like there's so much stuff in that game where it's like a show don't tell type of thing, and just the adventure of the boy and Trico, and just like him like not listening to you very well. It's very frustrating as a gamer, where it's like he's not listening to you, but it's also like part of the game design, but it's still frustrating. But as the game progresses, like
Mm.
you guys work together more and more, and you feel that bond, you grow that bond, where it's like he's listening to you, he still does things you want to do, and it's like there's definitely times where it's like that's a game issue, where it's like it's the game not working, it's not the game like oh you guys haven't bonded enough. No, it's like the game doesn't work as well, but it's like it's still just like it's definitely that like I admit that I overlook a lot of its faults, but still end up loving this game. And like I said, I'm a sucker for a goddamn dog with wings, and every time something was bad was happening, that fucking beautiful bird dog, like he was yiping. I'm like I was in panic where I gotta go help him. I'm like fuck, he's getting hurt or he's in danger. I gotta go save him. Like I would like as if like Louis himself, my dog, was like in danger, I'm like, fuck. Like I would just like lose my shit. I'm like, I can't function anymore correctly. I would be terrible in a crisis, Gables. That's what I'm saying. And this game proves it, especially when it comes to a dog. But my number 3 is Last Guardian. Gables, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Persona 4 Golden.
Oh, okay. That's a Vita game, correct? Or was that PS?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, actually.
Oh.
That one is, in my honest opinion, the best game to play in the PlayStation Vita. And part of the reason for that is because of how well constructed the story alongside of the addicting gameplay is meshed together so well. What starts off as a what starts off as like a crazy mysterious murder ends up evolving into you diving into a TV set which takes you to the Midnight Channel, a spiritual realm more or less with all these shadows and potential demons or something like that that you can defeat, or you can convince them to join your side in order to try to unravel why these events are occurring in the first place. But along the way, along this long, slow burn of a game, you'll eventually come across a lot of these different characters that you'll either love a lot of like their traits, a lot of their different things, and a lot of their different quirks, or you will come to maybe not like certain aspects of some other characters and stuff. But keeping in mind is all of these personality traits and a lot of their arcanas will affect what you'll do in the regards of the main game, because in order to advance further in certain dungeons and in certain like other types of like situations, you have to have high link levels in order to not only create stronger monsters through fusing, but you can also unlock certain specific traits in regards to like social standings, in regards to like saying having a max say in like proficiency or a max in like strength or guts or whatever the hell, and that will contribute onwards to creating like an easier experience for you to go through and enjoy for the rest of the game. So where Persona 4 Golden comes in, it's a quintessentially the greatest hits version of the original game, which came out in 2008 on the PS2, but was subsequently not only upgraded but also added more content that the original game didn't have on the PlayStation Vita. And quite honestly, the reason why it's so high is because there are very few games that you can play where if you spend that much time and like you're engrossed in the story and the characters and like the elements of the characters that where you care about what happens, what they're gonna do next, that is a sign of great not only game design but it's also a trait of great storytelling. So in that regards, it was one of the few games where I didn't want to put it down, and I was completely sad when the damn thing ended because I wanted to play more like in this story to obviously be still with these characters in that regards. And so with all of that stuff, that's why it's number 3 on my list.
Very cool. Very cool. Um, Moving on here to my number 2, Gables, is my 2020 game of the year,
Yep.
Last of Us Part 2. Um, I spent a whole 20 plus minutes just a few months ago going on about why it's my favorite game of 2020. Um, and I mean, I'm not gonna do it again. It's 2:30 in the morning. We're 3 hours into this podcast session. Just this one podcast is not including the one we did before this, and but it's the greatest story I think told in a game ever. With Ellie, like my emotions in this game have never been so heightened by a game before, where it's like the rage Ellie felt is the rage I felt, um, and just the way they play with your emotion in this game, where like the whole second half of that game, and replaying the entire events again, and the ending, like the last chunk of the game. Um, yeah, it's a great game to play. It's a fun. It's like it's not. I shouldn't say fun game. The gameplay is really well made. It's torturous the entire time. Just it's more. It's just like you go through these waves of enemies, and it's just like you feel like you are always on the cusp of running out. You feel like it really does a great job of like, it's the best the game has done for me, like in a survival game where it's like you feel like you're always on, like you'll get like you'll be overloaded with ammo or weapons, and then you'll just like all of a sudden like you'll get into a couple firefights, and it's like you are like every shot matters. It's like, I mean, I don't want to compare it to like this happened in real life kind of thing, but it's like it really would be like you're going in with like I got, all right, like what you got, like all right, I got 8 fucking uh, bullets in my pistol, I got 2 shots in my rifle, I got 3 fucking arrows, I got 1 goddamn fucking grenade, what's the Molotov cocktail. It's like
Yeah.
what you got going into it. It's like, all right, you got to plan this out smartly. And I'm going to this, I'm sneaking, and I got to figure out how I can take this guy out. I can take like it's just like it's so well done in that sense, and it's like I think it's the greatest combination of characters ever put into a game before. I think it's the greatest story ever put into a game before ever. Um, and I don't know how Naughty Dog or anybody will ever be able to top this game from a story based game. Obviously, there's a game that topped it for me that I'll get to in a moment, but that's my number 2. Gables, Last of Us Part 2. Gables, what's your number 2?
My number two is Fire Emblem Awakening, which was my, I want to say, 2013 game of the year,
That's
if I'm not mistaken.
is that 3DS?
Yes, that's
Okay,
3DS.
that was the third one, wasn't it? Because there was like one, there was two, and then like there was a third one after that, or I'm thinking of the wrong one?
I think you're thinking of the wrong one because
Okay,
I know for a fact that that was the first Fire Emblem game on the 3DS, and then
okay.
like the second one was Birthright, and then the third one it was the one you were. I think you were think I
Oh, Gables froze. Hello.
Freeze.
Oh, yep. You there? Okay, yeah. What
Yeah,
was
I'm
I thinking
here.
of? Sorry. Okay, you froze for like 10 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay,
Uh oh, he froze again.
the third game in and of itself was like the trilogy, but essentially, so
Hmm.
yeah, Birthright, Conquest, and like the third one in that regards.
Okay, that's what I
You
was
could
thinking
also
of then.
been thinking about, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But Fire Emblem Awakening, the reasoning why it is so high on this list and why is it the number two is because of how fantastic not only the storytelling is, but how addictive the gameplay became. Especially especially with the huge cast of characters, which I was highly invested in, not only maxing out a lot of these characters, but also testing with the elements of like mixing certain like relationship stuff together to where when they do produce like children and stuff like that, like those different traits and those different things and like how they would perform in certain tasks and situations. I played through this game in its entirety like 2 different times, and I got at least, I want to say, over 70 to like 100 hours out of this damn game. It definitely has a lot of legs. It's definitely a fantastic experience. The quality of the story was there too. It actually had me at points to where it's like, okay, is the main protagonist, is he gonna make it out? Is he or her gonna make it out alive? Can this do this or do that? Because quintessentially, what I did is like I had I started off, I had a female character at first, and I did for the second playthrough, I think a male character and stuff, and different perspectives and stuff. But it wasn't exactly bad at all. It was actually pretty damn good in regards to subsequential, like not like alienating things if you chose a specific gender or whatever the hell, but it was definitely a great experience in terms of like learning how to team up with certain individuals and how their stats all rank up like with each other and provide better like teamwork and stuff, and the whole leveling up of like a grid to where these two units are now more friendly with each other. Now it's like a C rank or an A rank, or with certain like with certain characters, say like with the opposite gender, you can do like an S rank or something like that to have that relationship go to where it was. And man, just the amount of fun I had just during like just enjoying the story was more or less similar to what I did with Three Houses, only it's even more so with Three Houses for Switch. So that's why it's at number two.
All right. Very nice. Very cool. Well, moving on to the grand finale. My number 1 Gables game of this last generation It's, I mean, if you haven't figured it out by now, I don't know. I mean, you haven't been listening to this podcast very long. It's Fast Furious Crossroads. It's Fast and Furious.
God damn it, dude! Don't. It's almost like freaking 1 in the morning
It
here,
is.
man. I can't
It is
take that shit.
2:30 here, and we recorded for 5 hours.
Oh god, dude.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself. It is. I saw you drinking, and I had to go for it. Low hanging fruit. It is God of War 2018. And this, like I said, I made this list over a month ago. This isn't like a recency bias thing of like replaying God of War again. It's like I played Last of Us just last June. I'm playing this just in 2018. I'm playing again right now. But for me, it's like I talk about like Last of Us Part 2 was the greatest story ever told, the greatest combination of characters ever told. But it's like God of War has like made me deep dive into like this is before I even started replaying it again. Like this is like end of last year where I started just like fucking watching like deep dive videos explaining the mythology of the world or backstories of the characters and like explaining like and like going crazy and like theories for like what God of War Ragnarok's gonna be and like um but it's also just on top of that more it's like where it's like I think it's a really well told story. It's an amazing story, amazing world built. Game looks crazy. I love the world serpent. I love Mimir like on your like you carry him around throughout the whole game, telling you backstories of like these characters and like these gods in this Norse mythology. But also like the gameplay is it's so fucking fun. Like I feel like just a fucking badass. Like throwing it's never getting old playing it through a second time, throwing the axe and retrieving it. Like the feeling I got the first time I threw it and retrieved it is the same feeling I have playing it just a few hours ago and retrieving it for the 10,000th fucking time. It's like that you just feel like a badass running through enemies like some of these boss fights I'm going through and it's just like when you just do some crazy fucking shit or like things just line up great with combinations. It's just it's great. It's phenomenal. It is to me like I talked about this even when I did the game of the year thing where it's like Last of Us Part 2 and God of War that's a battle for me or like that's not just like game of the generation conversation, that's a greatest game of all time conversation. Like that to me, like I feel safe saying God of War is the greatest game of all time to me. It's the GOAT for me. And it's crazy because like I didn't give a fuck about God of War. Like I tried playing God of War on PS2 back in the day and I didn't click for me. I tried replaying it again on PS3, and I got like 3/4 of the way through it, and I was like, I'm just forcing my. I'm not even enjoying this game at all. I don't like this game, and like going in like not caring at all, and like to go into God of War, and it's like it's it's essentially God of War 4 at this point. There's some backlog, even though they don't really touch upon too much, but like they acknowledge it's there, and there's some stuff that like he has to deal with from that original trilogy of like him going through and like dealing with the issue of being a father, being like getting close to his son, the death of his wife, and everything. It's just like it's in the end, it's a story about a father and a son on a journey together to do something important of like spreading his mother's ashes on the tallest peak of the tallest on the tallest peak on the tallest mountain in all of the land, and going on this, but it's like it turns into so much more of like him, like bonding with his son, trying to like forgive himself of his sins of his past and all that. It's just phenomenal story, but it's just like I think what puts it over the top. Like it's not. I don't think it's the story. Is Last Part 2 story better to me? Yes, but but what makes the difference is like the moment to moments of this game where like the gameplay is top notch, is phenomenal. Like I don't like I said like the biggest thing to me and the tiebreaker for me on this is the Leviathan axe, where like I said doesn't matter how many times I fucking chuck that thing and I hit an enemy and I call it back. It feels great every single time. And that's why it's my number one game of the generation and game of all time. God of War 2018. Gables, why is Pitter Pot your number one?
Oh god.
We'll do a top
I go from
25
Incredible
worst games
Pie
of the
to
generation, and then Pitter Pot will be all 25 for you.
oh my god.
We'll make a top 20. It'll just end up being the 25 reasons why you hate Pitter Pot.
All right. So the number one game for me for last generation is Persona 5 Royal. Absolutely, 100% without a doubt, in my opinion. Persona 5 Royal is the top RPG from the past generation. It's definitely one of my favorite games of the generation, and quite honestly, it's one of the best games I have played on the PS4. It has everything that the previous entry had in regards to the addictive gameplay, in terms of the narrative, in terms of like the customization stuff, but it's all picked up a notch in that regards. And quite honestly, it holds everything that I do love about playing RPGs. Fun, addictive gameplay that can be pretty fast, and you can just either spend a couple hours playing, or you can actually go through and spend like maybe a couple of minutes here and there. It has great characters, and definitely the ideas like going through a lot of these characters and learning like who these individual characters are. Great character buildings, like building and stuff to like better like emphasis of like creating better monsters and stuff. I thought the supporting cast around Joker in Persona 5 Royal was really great in comparison to say Persona 4 Golden, which did have some interesting characters in that regards, but I wasn't really compelled to go back and actually learn more about them. But with Persona 5 Royal, it's like I'm still like in a second playthrough. It definitely prompted me to want to do a second playthrough almost soon after I finished the main game originally, because I wanted to not only enjoy that world much more in regards to learning more about specific characters and stuff, but I wanted to go through with like a fresh set of eyes of what I could have noticed in terms of the narrative stuff as far back, like as far back as like the second main dungeon and stuff like that, because the game meticulously sets up like the whole theme of like redemption and the whole theme of like breaking your chains and rebel against your destiny in regards to going forth your own way and keep moving forward no matter what holds you down, and pretty much no matter what ends up happening and stuff, you got to go through, move forward, be true to yourself, and maintain like a sense of like stability in terms of your convictions and morals in regards to get what you want. That is the main lesson that this game potentially, not just potentially, but that does teach you in terms of like its storytelling in that regards. I felt like while playing as Joker, yeah, there were a lot of times where we kind of feel like a lot of the world isn't going against you and stuff because you were pretty much kicked out of your school and stuff like that because you were at the wrong place at the wrong time because this one politician or something was like drunk and was like trying to like hit on this one woman or something like that. And you called him out on it, and all of a sudden like you end up like punching him or something like that. He ends up bleeding, but he ends up like having you arrested, and you have to transfer to this other you have to transfer to like your hometown, so like the city in that regards, and then all of a sudden from there, it's all like a quintessentially like a slow, methodical build and storytelling and gameplay. You meet the different cast of characters progressively. It felt like such an organic experience in regards to how things were conveyed and how things that were like set up to where it rivals some of the best movies and some of the best TV shows that I've watched personally. Because a lot of the elements of the great story, of like a lot of the elements of a great story in general, is how much engagement you get out of seeing the story evolve through how these characters interact with one another and basically how they go through and figure out certain situations and stuff. Now, granted, there were some little bit of like caveats here and there and stuff that I may not have enjoyed as much. But what I will say is, I really did enjoy seeing how these characters progress the story with the Phantom Thieves and how everything else seems to go through and challenge what they want to go through and do. And even at their lowest point, they end up finding a way to try to progress forward and try to like not just try but go through and establish what they want to set out in terms of their goals, which is changing people's hearts into like being some of the best versions of themselves. So inter- with that said and done, this game, Persona 5 Royal, is the best game of the last generation for me.
Nice. Very cool, Gables. Well, that is it. Uh, over 3 hours in, we are finally done. I'm gonna do a quick
Shh.
run through of all of our top 25 though here. So, Gables here, top 25. 25, Outlast. 24, 29, Pro Skater 1 and 2. 23, A Way Out. 22, Gravity Rush. 21, Final Fantasy Curtain Call. Number 20, Rocket League. 19, Hat in Time. 18, Super Mario 3D Land. 17, Persona 3 and 5, Dancing in Moonlight and Starlight. Destiny 2 is 16. Number 15, Untitled Goose Game. Number 14, Danganronpa. Number 13, Danganronpa 2, Goodbye Despair. Number 12, Mario Kart 8. Number 11, Pokemon Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. Number 10, Celeste. Number 9, Persona 4, Dancing All Night. Number 8, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. Number 7, Doom 2016. Number 6, Mario 3D Land. Number 5, Dragon Ball Fighters. Number 4, Uncharted 4. Number 3, Persona 4 Golden. Number 2, Fire Emblem Awakening. Number 1, Persona 5 Royal. And mine top 25 is 25 Outlast, 24 Gears 4, 23 Evil Within 2, 22 Wolfenstein 2, 21 Until Dawn, 20 Gears 5, 19 Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duels, 18 Mario Kart 8, 17 Pokemon X, 16 Hellblade, 15 A Way Out, 14 Titanfall 2, 13 Rocket League, 12 Spider-Man, 11 is Mario 3D World, 10 is new Doom 2016, 9 Celeste, 8 Hyper Light Drifter, 7 Final Fantasy 7 Remake, 6 Uncharted 4, 5 Metal Gear Solid 5, which is funny now I think about it because Metal Gear Solid 4 was number 4 last generation. 4 Horizon Zero Dawn, 3 Last Guardian, and 2 is Last was Part 2, and number 1 Fast Furious Crossroads / God of War. I couldn't pick a tie. So yeah, that is our list. We both had 8 games in common in the very end. That will do it for us on this very long recording session for you guys.
Jesus.
Hope you guys enjoyed us all. It is almost 3 a.m. here. Love you guys. Gables, too sweet?
Too sweet, man.
Bye, guys.
See ya.